Yo, how's it going, all? I don't need that anymore, do we? No. What's up, Jolton? Fierce, Hussein, Capadine, Pinchu, Dame, Sir Leroy Jenkins. I just wanted to yell Leroy Jenkins. And Mithra, how's it going? So I didn't spin up my droplet. Oh, is my cam on? It is. Everything's on, right? Yeah. I forgot to spin up a droplet, so I gotta do that right now while I sip on my coffee really quick. Thank you for the follow. Should be pretty quick. I just gotta find the snapshot and figure out what day it is. What is today's date? 13th, 14th? No, it's 15th. And this is dead too. Wow. Alright. It's useless when it's dead. Oh, it's not dead. Kinda dead. Alright, almost done. Let's create this droplet. Your worst today. Hell yeah. I'm in California. I'm doing alright, not too bad. Happy Sunday. Thank you for the follow. Your worst is awesome. He's the OG content maker, man. While we wait, if you don't know who Yaworski is, for some reason you've been living under a rock, not knowing who Peter Yaworski is, you should go on YouTube. Give him a follow. Watch this video right here, talking about Recon. This one's really good with hot eggs. I didn't get to do the whole thing with Tommy, and then Tom Nom Noms was really, really good. I think he said I was the first person to get on his show at some point. I don't know. Could have been. Let's see. How to find subdomain takeovers. Pretty cool. Hacking pro tips. When was this? This was released March 22nd. 3 years ago. He's been ahead of the game with content for 3 years. Let that sink in. 1080p, so nice. Yeah. Oh, I gotta record this. Alright, so since we're on, gotta start recording this. Peter Yaworski is joining me. If you don't know who Peter is for some god-awful reason, go to his YouTube channel. It's Yaworski1. Check out his Web Hacking 101 videos. Really, really good stuff. There's some really good hackers on here. Ron Chan, DLZ, Monster Hacker, Justin Kennedy, Kevin Rowe, and really good stuff. For those of you asking about 1080p, it's finally in 1080p. I don't know if I'm recording in 1080p, but the stream's in 1080p at least. I'm spinning up a new droplet, so give me a few minutes. It's just using my backup. Has to go back in. While we wait, let me just make sure everything's going smooth on here, because I can't even see anything. I can see my face. We're good. Did I switch from Mac OS? Unfortunately, yeah. I had to. How do I type so fast without looking? That's what happens when you waste 20-something years on the computer. I don't think it's something hard to do. It's just you type until you get better. Alright, let's do this before I get started. If you're new to my stream, your first time watching this, I'm online Sunday, Tuesday, Saturday. If you care to know who I am, this is what I do. If you want to watch these videos and the rest of them, you're welcome to go on youtube.com, NahamSec. Please be respectful to other people. Read the rules. Be respectful to everyone on here, especially my mods. They do a very good job of helping me out with my stream. Follow my social media, and then I have a Discord channel that I started Thank you for the follow, Non. I started a Discord channel on July 20th of this year, and we're almost at 1,000 members, which is crazy. 1,000 people is a lot of people to be on a Discord channel. So thank you guys for joining. Thank you for linking that X. I had the bot in here last week that would have done that for us, but unfortunately it got really annoying because people were typing in all caps and the bot was not having it, so I kicked it out. Fuck having bots. Cool. I think this droplet's ready. It's gonna pop in. I'm not gonna change the host name. Then give me the right host and I want it. Also, subsystems in Windows. Impressive shit. Didn't see that coming. Really, really smooth. I don't even have to dual boot. I was gonna dual boot. I was gonna dual boot my my box, but this is so smooth. You don't even need to do it. I'm almost done. Just gotta SSH into it. I don't know if it's WSL2. I think it's 1. 2 comes out this year, right? Buckcrowd Discord channel. Just go to Buckcrowd and see what their website says. Just Google it, honestly. If you are not insider version, it's WSL. Good to know. Yeah, okay, that makes sense. Can't connect to this IP for some reason. What the fuck? DigitalOcean, what are you doing, dude? Are you not gonna let me connect to my own box now? Okay, as soon as I get into this box, we'll get started. I think it might be that it's still installing some stuff. I could be wrong. Yeah, it's still installing stuff. By the looks of it. Oh no, our engineering team is investigating an issue with droplet create events and event processing in multiple regions. During this time, you may experience delays creating droplets via cloud control panel or API. Oh, okay, well we may not even have a stream today. That's great. Hopefully this works. Rip. Yeah, rip. I'm gonna rest in peace today, it looks like. Let's give a couple more minutes. While we wait, so what I wanted to do, I want to wrap up looking at Yahoo.com. Maybe we can move to AOL and like other subdomains of Verizon Media. Yeah, you can get in, but you can't create a box. And because of how much I spend on these streams out of pocket, I delete the box after I'm done. I back it up and delete it immediately because I also give the IP out during the stream sometimes. And I don't want someone to like DDoS me and shit. Hopefully it will work in a sec. I have another box that's up. It just doesn't have all the tools I need. It has Go luckily for us, but it just doesn't have a lot of my aliases that I rely on for the stream. Which reminds me, I gotta push all these aliases out. Okay, so what I wanted to do, excuse me. I'm going to start organizing all of the Recon that we do in a spreadsheet of some sort. And the reason why I want to do that is I want to make sure we wrap this thing up and start moving to other domains. I was doing this stream originally just to like show people how I do my process, right? That is done now. Like people understand the process, but I think there's a next level of showing how to stay organized. So, as soon as I get into this box, which I can't connect to unfortunately, we'll do that. And if I can't connect to it, I'm just going to go to my other box. It's just such a weird thing that, yeah, so what we're going to do is we're going to use this. We're going to call this Verizon Media Recon, Subdomain Recon. And root subdomain name. like media.yahoo.com, for example. And then we're going to run these through a number of tools like Amass. We're going to run it under FD, find domain. We're going to run it through Crt.sh, and we're going to run it through, what's the other one? Should I do Search Spotter? What do you think, chat? Should we do Search Spotter, or should we just stick to one Crt.sh? Yes, the worst will be here today, as I've been saying it for the past week. And what other tools should we try? Should we do Subdomain? Oh, let's do Altdns, and then we'll feed it all to Altdns. Let's do that. And everything's gonna go total before pro. See how many we find, and then responsive number of before it, and then responsive. Okay. When I ran a directory search, I found a path proxy that I can't access. It returns 403, but in JS files I find PHP. After proxy, and it returns 200. Is it vulnerable? Does it have to contain critical information? I mean, here, I'll ask you a question, and I mean this. I don't mean this to be condescending at all. I think it's something that I do to myself. Is why is that vulnerable to you? Like, why do you think that's vulnerable? The file by itself isn't vulnerable. If you have a JavaScript file, you should see that PHP file after proxy. What does it take? What parameter does it take? If that parameter had URL in it, for example, can you use the URL param to feed it another URL and get SSR, for example? This is really inconvenient, DigitalOcean. Do I gotta dump you guys and move to another service provider? Because this is really, really inconvenient. Dio is doing the extra shit today. Yeah, my host is not coming up at all. Well, I don't need that. Let me try again. Oh no, while we wait, I'm gonna play my music that we don't have yet. And hopefully DigitalOcean got this shit together by then. Tell me if this music's way too loud, by the way. DigitalOcean's still working on making the box available, so I have a little bit more time. Hold on, this is too loud in my ear. It's like distracting. Hold on a sec. One of the mods, can you tell me if this is too loud? Better my voice. What do you want on here? Now too loud? Really? Better? The volume is at like 6. Oh, it's because it's louder than my voice. Okay. Got it. Okay. Where was I? I'm not doing iOS yet, but there will be some stuff about iOS soon. Is it? I think it's because I'm looking the other way. Here. Let me get comfortable this way. The reason why I get comfortable looking that way is because my chat's over here, but I can just turn this. There we go. Alright, is that better? Am I too loud and clear? So, DigitalOcean's still spinning up that box while I wait. But yeah, back to Fierce's question. Yeah, look at the JavaScript file, see what parameters you find. That's your best bet. You don't want to report something just because it has the word proxy, right? Like, it doesn't make sense. You want to put yourself in, put yourself in the paying company's shoes. You want to see stuff that's valuable to you, right? And you want to know why it's vulnerable. Like, why is it a big deal to have this proxy URL or endpoint or whatever you found? No, I don't want to talk about CSV injection because I think it's absolutely garbage that people have found a way to report it. Who uses macros? And I think macros are usually by default disabled anyways in most organizations. I did a month or two of research around CSV injection to understand them. There is no point. What are you going to do with CSV injection? The only thing you get out of it is a free calculator by putting equals 5 times 5 and you get the math out. If you can use the macros, different story, but I have a hard time believing that's a real thing. You don't have to do @NahamSec. I can read them, dude. No, yesterday I read the little things by the Recon one. You said you can access the path, for example, after you find turns 200 can be something there. Yeah, I mean, just because it's 200 doesn't mean anything. You just have to fuzz it. Like, figure out what this parameter or this, figure out what that URL does. Figure out this proxy URL that you have, right? Imagine, put yourself, I don't know what this app is, right? So I can't really speak on it, but you have to figure out what it does and really fuzz it. Like, find all the parameters for it. Just because it has a 200 doesn't mean anything. You can use, I think Cyclist has a list of parameters. Feed it into this and start playing with it and see what you get. Because sometimes if you give it a parameter, it might give you an error that says, for example, return URL empty or error, something like that, right? So you can use this usually to do it. All right, DigitalOcean is up. All right, I gotta do some configs real quick and we'll start. I know it's a slower start than usual today, but what is happening? It's so slow today. I think Cyclist should be your #1 go-to resource anytime you get stuck, honestly. They have a lot of good resources out there for it. Everything pretty much you need. I'm almost done. I just gotta reboot real quick. Okay. Almost done. It's rebooting. We should be good to go in a sec. I also recommend, that's a great point. Yeah, that's very, very good. Look it up. That's really good. If you have proxy / something.php, throw it in Github too and see what you find. It gives you some ideas. Hey Santiago, how's it going? Going to put this over here real quick. What's going on Twitch today? I'm looking at there's some game going on today. Oh, Apex has what's going on with Apex today? Anyone play Apex here? I want to get into playing Apex, but I feel like I'm gonna get wrecked on Xbox or on PC. If it was Xbox, different story, but yo, late, but I made it. You're not late. I haven't even started. I don't even have my DigitalOcean box playing yet. I do now. It took me like, what, 24 minutes to figure it out, but... Alright, so, game plan, we have it. Thank you for the follow. Appreciate it. Alright, let's do it. Diamond 2 in ranked. Holy shit! Can you carry me next time I play? I think I gotta become friends with Mithra. Diamond 2. Damn. I don't even have Apex on this PC. That's how much I played it. All right, so we talked about this. We're just gonna run everything through a bunch of domains and mark them done like this. Ready? Should we do it? This is the last time we're going to do all this. I just want to get really clean data out. I want to make sure everything's organized and call it good. Should we even worry about what's before probe, or should we just go for probe? UPC seems like a dream. Congrats, man. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Alright, as usual. I kind of want to grip for the stuff that have... okay, so let's think about this. I really want to make this structured. So what I'm going to do is... Alright, here's what we're going to do. Okay. We'll call this the finale. Whoops. Because I'm going to wrap this up and move on from Yahoo.com forever and forever. So every time I do Crt.sh, I'm going to just, okay, let's do this. We played Rust. I'm gonna start streaming Rust on Saturdays. It's a really fun game. It's very, very fun. Yes, you can, I don't know on Hyper, but I'm just doing the subsystem, and it's really, really smooth. Okay, let's do this. And, where'd my screen go? Whoa, okay. I think if I do Amass on this, it's gonna die. It's gonna take a freaking long time to do it. So I'm going to... Can I do another Ubuntu maybe? Yeah, I can. Alright. Can have my IP, it's all good. Okay. So we are going to do Amass, and we're going to do find domain. So I am going to go to this one. When will be NahamSec starting? What do you mean? I'm starting. I'm here. What? I'm confused by that question, Ravi Raj. Alright, so we'll run Amass on, whoa. I'll run Amass on media.yahoo and let it do its thing. And I'm gonna call Amass done, Crt.sh done. And let Amass do its thing. This way we're tracking what we're doing, but it looks like... What is happening with GitHub today? This has never been an issue, but now it is. Alterations is not there. Let's go find out what that is then. Oh, I gotta update maybe. Yeah, let's update Amass. Is that an update instruction? No. How do we update this thing? This is V327. What's the latest version right now? Oh yeah. How do we update this thing? That's what I want to know. I'm not gonna do it with Snap, but might have to do it. So don't do. Looking for Ubuntu. Clone it over to your current files. There's got to be an easier way of cloning it. Can I just do a update Amass? Oh no, I can't. Is that apt update Amass? Nope. Yeah, but it's not letting me update. Let's see if someone's done it before. Should we just do it with, I don't want to run an update on this and it does it, but yeah, I think I installed it with apt. Let's just update it real quick. I'm just gonna have it update everything. Hopefully it's done already. Just base Ubuntu. No, it's not. It's not Ubuntu. I'm using the base Ubuntu to SSH into it. It's a DigitalOcean box. I'm gonna just sudo install Amass and see if it'll let me update for it at least. But not Amass. Yeah, it's not doing it either. Just rec Amass. Just remove it. What was the command for remove apt? Let's see. I don't remember what that was. It's just remove. Purge. Let's purge Amass. Okay, YOLO. Just purge it? Alright. Let's do this live. Blows my mind. Why are you saying F for? Maybe I didn't do it with it. Okay, we'll F for Amass. That's weird. That doesn't take Amass in anywhere at all. I don't remember how I install it now. Let's see. Nope. Okay, let's see if sudo could, snap could do it. It's already installed. Can we just update Amass? Nope, there's no update for snap. Update using snap. Let's see, there's gonna be a way to update it. Refresh, there we go. Let's see if this works. No updates available. Well, that's really, let's see if it does that again with the, alright, that's it. Yeah, I don't have Amass in here, so I didn't install it with, I installed it with apt. It just doesn't fucking respond to it. I did the refresh on snap too, but has no updates available. Get clone and install. I don't want it to break my current install, but all right. Oh wait, I'm an idiot. That's why it's not in my tools. I thought it would be in here, but maybe I did it with Go, but maybe not. Alright, whatever. Let's go back and just, it can be with Snap. It is with Snap. What the actual fuck? It's all good, man. No worries. I'm just struggling with Amass right now. Fuck off, Amass. No go files. Snap, remove package, and then we'll install it again. Fuck this. Getting really tired of this. Remove. There we go. Get the fuck out of here with Amass. That was really annoying. Thanks, Jeff. It works. But it's this is. Oh. I think I have to update Snap first. Let's do this first then. Okay, that's updated. Let's do install Amass and let's give it an update. Everything is updated, but well, it's a good thing that Jeff's coming on this in a bit. Maybe not today, but they fucked something up with AMAP. Yeah, Amass. I mean, not AMAP. I really don't understand why they did this. Yeah, this is really weird the way Amass is doing this, because it was working just fine, but now suddenly it doesn't work. And now it's not liking the stuff that I have, like the invalid operation. But the thing is, like, it just broke the entire freaking, look, the entire thing that I had written for it. What the fuck? I wanted to run this Amass thing, but it looks like okay, I'm gonna move on from it. I'm wasting too much time. I'm gonna message Jeff later and be like, hey, can you like help me out real quick? Okay. That's right. I didn't give it any domains, but the thing doesn't work. The thing is, it doesn't work with this. This is what my problem is. Like, why isn't this there? And like everything is already up to date. I'm gonna do this one more time. If not, I'm out. Has no updates available. Alright, we're gonna move on from Amass. I'll just do FD for now. So we'll do fdmedia.yahoo.com on this one. And Let's see where this goes. Yeah, I don't understand why they removed it. I think they restructured how it works. Whatever. We'll leave it alone. We'll do FD for now. I'll talk to Jeff in a sec. He'll probably have a better idea what to do than I do. I'll have it on for the next stream. So we're doing FD on media. But what I hate about FD is how it makes like a million different files. Yeah, I don't know why you would remove a file when you know folks are going to be using the older version of it. Like, what if I don't want to update, you know? I know I sound a little bit salty, but still. So there's a global subdomain here. I'm going to do this and grep for global. This gives us 57. Media.yahoo.com, and I'm going to check and see what this gives us. If it gives us 57, I'm just going to move on from media. But if it gives me more, okay, 57, that's good. Alright, I know there's more on media than what I've just found, so maybe find domain is going to find. Let's see what find domain has. There's nothing in there, really. FD, wait, maybe my FD is broken, hold on. Oh, I got to update find domain too, that's great. They just pushed an update not too long ago either, too, so we gotta, let's hope that one doesn't fail. It's gonna be fun once the support is actually stuff for Python 2.7. That's hilarious. Alright, let's see what find domain has for updating it. I guess that would be our only option unless we can cargo, because I remember I installed it this way. I just don't know if cargo update package. Thank you, Akshash. I appreciate it. Cargo install forcing an upgrade. Okay, let's do this. Because he does cargo build release. Okay, this sounds really risky, but it's not that, it was just working. But we're just gonna YOLO it. I'm gonna redo this really quick. I think I've spent more time with these tools today than I have done anything else, but whatever, we'll do it. Crt.sh down today? No, I don't think so. shouldn't be down. Hey, security. Alright, so we did media. While this installs, I'm going to do some other stuff, if I can find my way around. Alright. So we did media. Now that I know I'm going in circles for the past couple of weeks. Find domain's getting installed. I want to do bf1.yahoo.com. Make sure we run all of these through it. Get it done with before Jaworski joins me. So let's keep going. And again, this is gonna be the last time I'm gonna run all these tools. I just want to make sure I have all this data, push it to GitHub, move to the next domain. I'm just tired of working on this start at yahoo.com. But I realized I haven't been organized at all. So I want to make sure I do that. Okay. BF1 worked. We did Crt.sh. Who cares that the number of hosts here? Actually, I don't really want to look into that. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to change my Crt.sh real quick. I have that to okay, it does that, and then after it does this, we're going to do give it AD. Why not write it all? I mean, then why just not do a stream at all? I'm just doing it to show how I want to organize this. It's just a process for me to develop a new process and show how I've developed it, instead of always continuously automating everything and missing some data. That's all. We don't have to automate every single task. If that's the case, then just automate the whole bug bounty industry, you know? I know it's not a little trolly, it's just, there's some stuff I would automate and some stuff I don't want to automate. Oh, come on. See, this is what happens when you type quote unquote fast. Okay, so I want to do this one more time. Yeah, I don't know if I want to go the API route for a while. I want to make sure we have really concrete data. The thing is, like, I feel like every time I've done these like API fuzzing stuff, I've been all over the place. Like the data isn't as clean as it should be. So I want to make sure the data is clean before we go even down the fuzzing path. Like maybe, you know, the next 3 weeks we'll just do this, or the next 2 weeks we'll just do this. The 2 weeks after that we'll just dedicate it to fuzzing. No more looking for subdomains. Because when I was doing the API fuzzing stuff, I was doing both, going back and forth, right? But I want to do one. I want to just be laser focused on looking at APIs, you know, doing directory brute forcing, maybe look at some JavaScript files, you know? I just want to be completely done with subdomain stuff. Does that make sense? Yeah, and then also, like, if I have a good list right here, like you were mentioning, we can literally, like, start, we can start to, like, automate this list every month, come back to it, and run this entire list through all of our tools, like find domains, Crt.sh, and Altdns, and see where it goes. How do my tools break out of nowhere? Omega.yahoo.com is a good one too. I just want to, now that the stream that I'm doing is becoming bigger and like the data that I'm getting is bigger and we're doing a lot of tasks over and over and over, I just want to make sure that I'm not going into circles and redoing the same exact thing every week. Because if that's the case, then, you know, what's the point? Have you been doing any hunting on Yahoo Outstream? No. I don't participate in the Yahoo bug bounty program, not because I don't want to, but there is other reasons. Because I work at a vendor company that they use, aka HackerOne, I don't submit any bugs to them just to keep that, keep it fair. They also have rules around it anyways. But I also don't want to abuse being at a HackerOne and hacking on one of our customers, one of our biggest customers that we partner with in a lot of stuff. So that's why I do the streams. I know people that are finding bugs based on these streams, and that's good enough for me, to be honest. Let's make one more change to responsive host. No, don't do that. There we go. We're gonna do this. Alright, we're good here. I don't like this song at all. It sounds a bit creepy. Get out of here. Okay, let's get to it. Now that we have everything set up properly, we can do Crt.sh, omega.yahoo.com. Been done. Where's the other one? This cargo is still doing its thing. Good for them. Hey, I don't have the bot set up. Thank you for the follow. Just because of the fact that it was being annoying to some folks. I have to set it up again. But I've been on since 10 o'clock, if that helps. 53 minutes is uptime. Thank you for the follow. Whoa, FD is ready. I mean, ish. I don't think I needed to do that, but oh well. Oh, it's still building. Oops, I thought it was done. My bad. Oh, now we're good. Okay. Let's see if this works now. Hold on. We'll call it FD. Whoa. Oh, we call it find domain, okay. Feels bad, man. Find domain. Okay, let's do source. Okay, I think FD is good to go. I guess we'll see. I think it's gonna take a while, but if it doesn't, we'll know. Did I change the find domain syntax? Yeah, there's no more -a. What was -a? Wow, there used to be a -a that's not there anymore, so let's just get rid of it. I think -a was for the APIs, if I remember correctly. They took it out. I remember that now. An error has occurred. Today is not our day, is it? It really isn't our day, I think. All right, you know what? We're gonna that's why. You can't specify where to do it. We just have to move everything. I didn't realize that wasn't the path. That was a domain that was taking. Alright, I'm done being dumb. I think we're good here. But it's not parsing things right, and it's just giving me garbage, which I'm not liking at all. Okay, it gave me some domains, but I feel like doing Sublist3r at this point would be a better choice. Should we do Sublist3r instead of FD? Because I feel like we haven't used Sublist3r either. Sublist3r it is. Goodbye, fine domain. We're not using you. Hey Adam, how's it going? You know, there's 80 something people watching and I'm surprised everyone's so quiet. What's going on, everyone? Why are we all quiet? Can I have everybody that's watching this and isn't shy just say hello? I want to see how many are actually listening to me. So if you are watching this, I want to see how many of you guys are actually listening with the hello. Thank you for the follow. So just quiet is what it is. Hello, Father. On the topic of, let me get a picture of this for Insta. On the topic of doing me favors, can I ask one last favor for everybody? My buddy Zayat, I do this every week. Please, 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 if you're listening right now, I need you to do me a favor. I'm not trying to be a troll. I really want him to come on my, on this show. So please, 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 if you're watching this, I really want Brett to come on and talk to me about some of the stuff we have done together, and he's being a little shy. I sent the link in chat. I need you to go in here. Go to that link. I want you to go in here, click on tweet, and I want you to say, when will you go on NahamSec's Recon stream? I'll even give you the text for it. Hey India, devil. Hello from India. This is what I sent you guys. Please take that and go in here and tweet at Zayat. I give you the text, I give you the URL. I want to see the notifications go up. I'm going to refresh this in a couple of minutes, and I want to see it go back up. If you have a Twitter, it's okay if you don't have a Twitter, I understand. If you have a Twitter, which I know most of you do, thank you, Andres. I need you to go on here and start tweeting at him. Hello, Turkey. I love Turkey. I want to go visit Turkey really bad, but I haven't gotten to. One day, though. So let's give it 100 threads. We'll have the output go to our... let me make sure I have it. Yeah. So Sublist3r is going to be... You know what? No, fuck that. We're going to do it this way. I've been saying that we need to do it properly. So we're going to create a Sublist3r in here, and we're going to call it... Oh, that doesn't work. That won't work. It's fine. We'll do Python Sublist3r.py. Give it 100 threads. we are going to give it the output to be here inside of Sublist3r, and we're going to give the file name to be the target, whatever we put in. Okay, and let's just do some port scanning because who doesn't want to do that? We'll just do 8443, 4443, 8080, and 443. And I lied, 8081. And -d is going to be this, and let's make it so we can see what's going on. How's that sound? Before you were NahamSec, did you ever do things anonymously under multiple aliases? No, I've been in NahamSec for a very long time. What do you mean do things anonymously? He's gonna go nuts. I just refreshed my my feed. Oh, I hope he's liking this. Oh, I mean, I'm gonna message him and say I hope you like all those tweets. I hope you enjoyed those notifications. So he's expecting me to do this, I think. I hope I'm not annoying him with this. So what the story behind me tweeting at him is, I told him to come on this stream, and he's been like playing hard to get a little bit. I told him until the day he comes on this stream, I'm gonna have everybody tweet at him every time I remember it. Thank you all for doing this. Here, let's do this. This is really, really good stuff. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. That's really good. That made me laugh. Alright, where were we? We did our profile for Sublist3r. We just gotta refresh our Bash profile. Alright, let's run Sublist3r now. What? Sublist3r not found? What do you mean not found? So, you know, if you spell things right, it might help. No, don't mention him on Discord. Don't blow him up on Discord. Twitter is enough. Let's keep it at Twitter. It's just, I don't want to piss him off on multiple platforms. Because he uses Discord on his phone, I think, too. And I don't want to annoy him that much. But that's it. Maybe next time. Maybe if he doesn't listen to us, we'll go after his... Alright, so Sublist3r is good. We are going to give it media.yahoo.com. And we're going to call it done on here with Sublist3r. Sorry, find domain. You have been replaced. For now, at least. Alright, so while we wait for this to be done, I am going to go here and maybe I should have done a HTTP probe. Maybe shit, fuck it. I will do it right now. Python, no. Inception, Python. Okay, so we're gonna do... Are you catching a cold? No, I just woke up really, really late this morning. I thought I'd get on at 11, so I woke up at 9:30, realizing I'd get on in 30 minutes, so I had to rush everything, unfortunately. We're gonna probe at 80, and we're gonna do... What did I call this folder? Responsive hosts. Responsive hosts, and /alive. So we'll do, I don't know why I call it alive, like they're dead, but whatever. Alright, this should work, right? Hopefully I didn't make any mistakes. Yes, it is a cloud server on DigitalOcean. You can get a free $25 credit if you sign up through the link that's at the bottom of the stream in my about and my information. Okay, so I think everything is set up for Sublist3r to work. Sublist3r could be doing its own thing now. I just gotta make sure that the folder is good. All right, we're back in business. What do you think about DoD program? I've seen everyday people are submitting bugs, but their sites have similar structure, fancy pics with lots of text. It's kind of boring. It is kind of boring, but in the same sense, if you think about it, some of these sites from the DoD are. I've seen sites on the DoD that are dated back to 2003. It's just finding the right sites. I get that a lot of the sites are static. You know, they don't have a lot of stuff on them, but there are some really weird sites on there. You just have to find the right one. That's why the Recon thing becomes a really big part of the entire thing. So you have to figure out how to enumerate to get rid of the static sites. I think screenshotting would help. Also for those static sites, maybe do some brute forcing on the directory file end would help. Maybe you can find some old files that are laying around that give you some information. I used to enjoy hacking in the DoD, but now I just go, why? What's the point? I know it sounds bad, but if I don't hack a lot anymore, so when I do hack, I want to hack and make a few bucks. But absolutely, if your goal isn't, my goal when I first started doing bug bounties wasn't to do money. Like, I did not expect to make a dime. I mean, I like to get money out of it, but my expectation wasn't to get a dime out of it. I was looking bigger picture. I was thinking about getting a job because I was still in college and I was broke and I had nothing to do and I had nothing planned for me in the future at all. Absolutely nothing. I had zero idea what I wanted to do in the future on my junior year of college. So my goal was do bug bounties, and I did 3 interviews with 3 big companies that thought I was a good hacker. I wasn't, and I failed every interview, and then I got my hands on this book because they were asking me security questions, not about hacking. Like, hey, how do you fix XSS? What is XSS, right? I know what XSS is. I know how to fix it, but some of the other stuff, like, it's more in depth. Like that, so how do you fix CSRF? The answer isn't just to implement a CSRF token. There's other mechanisms that you can do. So this is it's a really good way of understanding from both ends of it, security and offensive and defensive. It's called Web App Security, a Beginner's Guide, and the author is Brian Sullivan and Vincent Liu. It was a very good book to read. Thank you for the follow. Thank you for the link, JD. It talks about security fundamental on chapter 2. It talks about input validation, blacklist validation, whitelist validation, which are things that are the key interview words that a lot of people that interview, including myself when I used to interview for some of the positions at HackerOne, I would literally look for these keywords because I want to understand that what input validation is. What does input blacklisting mean? What is all these different things? And if you think about it, like input validation is a key to almost every vulnerability type with SSRF, for example, or XSS to SQL injection. And if you don't understand how that works and why it's valuable, you're not going to really be able to do much with with security, really. Just tuned in. What's your first job in security? I actually, I don't think a lot of people know this. A lot of people don't know this about me. I actually worked at Bugcrowd for a short year. That was my first real job that I didn't work for myself in technology. Okay, let's do media is done. Let's do BF1 on this. And then let's go back here. And I'm going to do sports.yahoo.com because I know it's huge. PWD, what? Can someone tell me about, I found about Peter's interview with Tom? No, I'm not. I found some 401 login page, right? I'm running subsystems on Yahoo, Yahoo on Windows, and I'm using the subsystem to connect to my DigitalOcean box. We were trying to see what folder you were in. That's funny. Let's do a fantasysports.yahoo.com. I think that's a real domain. It is, okay. Thank you for the follow. Oh, subscribe. Thank you, Adam, for the subscription. Appreciate it. I do have something to do, by the way, for my subscribers soon. I just have to work for it. I have some really cool stuff I'm going to do around Recon the next month or so. So I appreciate everyone supporting so far. All right. So we did fantasy sports to Crt.sh. Let's do finance.yahoo. I think finance also has some stuff. Maybe I should run Sublist3r through all these through Sublist3r later. Altdns has to be done at the very end, I think, would be easier. Who cares about the responsive host? I'm just going to skip it. So finance is done. Cool. What time is it? I gotta make sure I don't forget about Pete. No, we're good. Okay, so let's go and look at just some Googling stuff. And ooh, advertising. Let's do that. What was it? Advertising.yahoo.com. It's a domain. Let's see. It is. Cool. I'll also open source this. You know what? I'm going to do this. So I'm going to give you all access to this since you're watching. So if you want to follow along and you're watching this live, there we go. 401 injection. I don't know what you mean. 401 response injection. Any idea? Whoa, I love how I just linked everybody and everyone just like bam, 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 bam. Alright, this counter is getting up. Alright, so we did advertising. Let's just keep going. Let's see what else we find. You know what? Let's see what brings up like extension PHP. Is there anything for PHP? Not. I don't want to do MacTube. It's okay. All right. Let's see. JSP maybe. Some Korean sites that are not up anymore. No, don't do that. No. Come on. Interesting. Okay. Google Docs. That's funny. We did finance already. I don't know if store is a good one to hit. What do you guys think? Should we hit store? Let's see how big it is. I didn't even think store.yahoo.com was being used anymore. That's not bad. Some stuff. What is this? API partners at store. Interesting. I'm definitely not going to hit answers. It seems like a waste of time, but I'm probably going to regret this later. Brett just messaged me back. He's like, you're giving me 3 followers. Thanks for that. You're gonna come on this stream, buddy. It's okay. You'll give in one day. Are you watching this? Or are you just talking shit to me on Slack? I think the next thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna tell everybody to unfollow him to see how he likes it. If he wants to talk shit, should we just go unfollow him and drop his following count since he wants to talk shit? Damn, you guys are awesome for doing this. Should we drop his following count? Should we just watch his following count go down and tell him that no one's gonna follow until he comes to my show? Also, by the way, I don't know if anyone I mentioned this. I'm doing a giveaway for Pete's book. If you want to win a copy of his book, I'm giving away 3 copies of it. All you have to do is reply to my tweet and tell me what you have learned from bug bounties. No pressure if you don't, but if you do want to win a copy, here's your chance. It's on Twitter right now. Developer.yahoo.com. Let's see, developer.yahoo.com. Is there anything on developer? There is some stuff on developer. Push tools. Ooh, that looks really interesting. I gotta look at that in a sec. Thank you for the follow. I appreciate it. We did store and advertising, so store.yahoo.com. These are all cert.sh. Okay. Quickly before I keep on moving on from this. Oh, this is an internal tool. I love how it shows my HackerOne email. Thanks for doxing me. Alright, let's get rid of style. And let's get rid of developer. Travel blogger. I'm good, I think, on travel blogger. Travel food blogger. So let's get rid of that too. Travel food blogger. I feel like I'm scared of... Ooh, hold on, what is this? Oh, I think we've seen this. Gemini, okay. I don't want to run it on mail. I feel like running it on mail would be a bad idea. It could just be me, though. So one of the tricks we did earlier in the stream was to look for dev sites. So let's see what domains have a dev site on them. And let's do this one. This is a good one to do. Let's put it on this really quick. Oh my god, what am I doing with my life? I'm struggling hardcore. I don't want the HTTPs. There we go. I'm talking to Zayat. He said I told him that I'm threatening him that we're gonna unfollow him if he doesn't come on the show. Okay, Crt.sh is doing something with this domain. It's taking a while. There we go. It's coming back. Absolutely beautiful. There's a lot of stuff on here. Assistant has some stuff, and payment. So let's do GQ1 is another one that's really, really good. What I'm going to do is I'm going to automate Sublist and everything else to be ran by themselves. GQ1 and payments.yahoo.com. Assistant is done. Okay, let's do, I'm gonna do payments for GQ1 and then we'll move over. I think in a couple of minutes I'm gonna take a break and go get a coffee really quick, and then come back. Okay, GQ1, Yahoo.com. I did GQ1 really quickly on Sublist3r because it's going to be one of the longer ones I feel like, but I found some really good stuff. Another question for you, NahamSec. Do you ever perform automated XSS? No. I don't use any tools other than Burp for XSS. Alright, be right back. I'm going to get a coffee real quick. Enjoy the music while I'm gone. Alright, I'm back. Thanks for joining, Dog Shell. Have a good night. Here's my beef with... Hold on. Here's my beef with XSS and automation. If you use automation, you're going to miss a lot of bugs. You're not going to learn shit. Learn how to find XSS on your own. It's really not that hard. I'm gonna look into doing a Tuesday stream about XSS soon. Maybe I'll do the Google cake thing and show you guys how I find XSS. But do yourself a favor, stop looking into tools for XSS. You should not be using any tools for XSS unless you're automating payloads because you're dealing with with WAF and you don't want to fuzz it on your own, whatever that is. Don't. Do yourself a favor. Do not use a tool for XSS. I'm telling you, you're going to regret it in the long run. You're going to hit a roadblock when you're not finding anything. Also, if you were watching me last night eat shit on Rainbow Six Siege, guess what I got? Pretty dope. I have Ash sitting right there. Wait, over here. So this is Ash right there. Hey, let me grab Ash. Hold on. It's not Ash, it's Hibana. Damn it. I used to be a Hibana main back in the day. If you know, you know. If you know, you know. I'm gonna sit right here for Saturdays to get pissed off more often. They just released those not too long ago. Okay. I might bring back Rainbow Six today after the stream's over. So after Peter leaves, I might play a few rounds of Rainbow Six. We'll see. Alright, GQ1 didn't have stuff. Tom Nom Nom interview is over? What do you mean? I'm not doing Tom Nom Nom interview today. Did I say I'm interviewing Tom Nom Nom today? I don't think I did. No, Tom Nom Nom is 2 weeks from today. Next week I have the Cyber Mentor joining me, and I'm so excited to have him on. He's such a good dude. Yeah, your worst is gonna be on soon. I haven't started yet. Maybe I should do a countdown to like when my guests get on. Okay, let's keep going. GQ1's done. Not a whole lot of stuff. What are these? Search. Let's do search. I can see. Oh, GQ2. Hold on. Let's go in order. GQ2. GQ2 and GQ2. Come on now. There we go. There it is. GQ2. That's a lot of stuff, but I think most of these aren't even open. It's funny about GQ2 is none of them really had anything on them. Whoops. Also, this way, if anybody joins, or if anybody gets their hands on my data, they could have the root subdomains on their own to do it. I think some people might appreciate it. Who knows? GQ2 is done. Corporate wasn't fine. I'm just gonna leave it out. Might as well, I guess. We're doing it anyway. Let's just do it. Hey, tester one. Are you asking for this link? See, what's surprising is that a lot of those stuff that we saw in search didn't come up except this. Some API stuff, it looks like. Okay. Alright, let's keep going. Anyone is a big one. Yeah, there we go. You have fun with that. Thank you for the follow, Jane. So NE1 is still going. Corp's going on here. We'll fit Corp over next. Thank you for the follow. By the way, if you are a person, if you subscribe to people, this is the month to do it until next week, the 24th. All subscriptions are half off. I'm gonna do something around that next week. But if you want to subscribe to any streamers you watch, it's me, Cyber Mentor, Tom Nom Nom, Donut, Shroud, or Dr. Disrespectful, whoever you watch. This is the time to do it. Oh, good to know. Yeah, I'm gonna turn off the sound on my alert box soon, unless I can do it right now. Yeah, I don't think I can change the sound on it, unfortunately. But I will. What I did last week was someone made a comment about it, and I turned it off. I don't have an option to turn it down, or I would. Bad request. I feel like the biggest noob asking this. There's no questions as being a noob. More than welcome to ask whatever question you have. Use JQ. Learn how to use JQ. JQ is your friend. Or grown, yeah, that's a good one too. Alright, how about this? Once Peter is gone, if people want to stick around, we'll do some fuzzing. We're going to go through the data we have right now. So this way, I'm not just doing the same thing of doing finding subdomains, and we do some stuff. We'll break it into two. I'll do another hour after Peter leaves, just to look at the data we have and see what we can do with it. Ooh, look at these. Let's see. It's all VPN stuff though. I don't know if it's good enough. Well, nothing exciting there. Computer checkup, Product Central. Thank you for the follow. Yes, thank you. Windows is the GOAT. Hey, at least I'm not hitting 100% of my CPU usage this time. Streamlabs is like taking up GPU galore, but... Alright, let's do this one. I don't think that has a lot of stuff on it based on this search. I feel like this song that we're listening to right now comes on my stream every time I'm streaming. I swear, it comes up every single time. Alright, I'm tired of this playlist. Where is it? Whoops. Let's do another playlist. Okay, let's try this one. It's more hip-hop than anything else, but... Maybe it's because it's the same playlist. Yeah, it could be. I feel like I've heard this beat somewhere before. Someone's like song. Got data going up. Query is a good one to run, and ops. Always reminds me of that epic rap battle song. Adam, can you link me that? Let's watch it real quick. Can you link that to me? I might watch it at some point. I just gotta make sure I mute the sound or I talk over it or something so I don't get flagged. Thank you for continuing that. GKH. Thank you, thank you. Let's see, Crt.sh. Have you made exploit? What? Thanks, Jolton. I'll look at it in a sec. We'll watch it before Jaworski joins. Come on, Crt.sh. I thought we were friends. There we go. Thank you for the follow. Wow, there's some stuff coming up on ops that wasn't up, I feel like. I don't remember seeing these, but I could be wrong. Not seeing anything fun on any of these. ADX boring, but we'll look at ADS. Gemini. Did I hit Gemini? See, this is why I'm doing this note-taking thing now. Let's see, did I do Gemini? We didn't do Gemini. Wow, let's add it on. Gemini.yahoo.com. After this is done. Wow, anyone didn't have shit. How big was this? Thank you for the follow, Momo. That wasn't that big of a list. I don't know why it's choking so hard. Oh, it hasn't choked. It just doesn't show it. Well, okay. Okay, there isn't a lot of API. Give me some keywords, guys. What should we look for? Ooh, stream ads. What else should we look at? API.yahoo.com. That could be one. Stream ads. That could be another one. Can you be blue, please? It's gonna bother me. There we go. Not the right blue, but I'll take it. So what is Gemini? Not a whole lot on Gemini. Let's do API, and then we'll do the other one next. What's going on, everybody? Everyone's being quiet. Are you focused on just watching? What a failure. Let's do stream ads. You guys want to be entertained by my music? I think the music is getting kind of boring. I'm gonna find some other playlist. Let me see. Can I find some trap music? No copyright trap. That's a real channel. Oh, God bless no copyright music. Let's play it. I don't know what it is with trap music and me getting hyped over it. Stream ads, not much. I'm trying to think of what other words we can throw at this to find more. Maybe we should look at some UAT stuff. By the way, let me know if the music's too loud. You want to use my Crt.sh alias? Sure. I have to update the bash profile one. There we go. TP2. No, thank you. No, thank you. Thank you for the follow, G. PES, there's some really weird domains coming up. Sports. You know what? Let's do this. rceyahoo.com bug bounty. Let's see where people are finding bug bounty bugs. This guy, the gentleman, really good dude. You should follow him if you don't already. I want to try something really quick. So it's not a whole lot in there. Let's see. Oh, it is a bunch of stuff out here. Let's just do that. Crt.sh, DataX, Swagger UI. That is very smart to do. Good for you, whoever wrote this. Let's see what other domains we find. This doesn't have a domain on it, so we'll get rid of it. SSRF, Yahoo, bug bounty. Let's see. SP1, there we go. That's a good one. Let's see. That's got to be very, very old. That's like Nafi's gold mine of garbage domains that he's owned for a while. Like he's found some really crazy shit on SP1 when he was disclosing some of the bugs. Okay, we did all these. Let's see. I don't know if it's my favorite bug. They've been something that I've been looking at a lot. I like. I don't have really something favorite. SSRF maybe is something's funky about my setup today. Something is not right. I think my GPU is really high. I'm trying to figure out why. GPU's at 70%. Not sure what is going on. It doesn't bother me that this happens. other than making me look like a fool a little bit sometimes. What bothers me is that I lose a recording for this shit. And what Twitch gives you is really low quality. What do you mean quality 1080p only? Whatever. That was really annoying. Can someone link me the Google Doc we had? Alright. It's all good. If anyone's got the Google sheet handy, just link it back to me, please. Thank you. That was frustrating as fuck. Yeah, GPU peaked really high at some point. Could be because of the video, maybe. I'm not sure. Does Spotify have royalty-free music? Alright, well, let's listen to Spotify. I mean, that would help a little bit. No, I don't think the lag is... There shouldn't be a lag at all. It's my dedicated GPU. I have an RTX 2070 on this thing and it's still choked. I'm gonna close out a couple of things that I don't need really quick. Yeah, just OBS takes a lot. I think OBS Lab is what does this. I'm gonna just dump OBS Lab and just go back to regular OBS. Alright, we're back. Where were we? Thank you for the follow, I appreciate it. Okay, we did the right. Let's flip that over. Yeah, I'll bring it down here. Sorry about that. I'm still trying to calm myself down over my computer going down. Give me a couple minutes. Give me 2 seconds, I'll be back. Alright, pretty annoyed, not gonna lie. It is what it is. The best part is like it does that kind of shit at peak of like the stream too. I just hope it doesn't happen when I'm talking to Pete. So it shouldn't. but we'll see. You never know. All right. I'm gonna do a couple more domains. Pete's gonna join me in a couple minutes. I think frames were dropping earlier too. I think my GPU dropped my GPU. We'll see. Yeah, X. I think Don and I are gonna talk about this real quick and figure it out. I agree though. I definitely agree. It is what it is. Can't do much about it. I want to keep on doing this. I'm going to... No, I think it's Streamlab OBS. It's OBS Streamlab, whatever. It's Streamlabs OBS that's causing a lot of this. Hey, TN. I don't know why it rebooted. Like, it literally just one screen went off. My screen on the right that you guys don't see is the stream. It's the one that I use to, look at the chat. But that one went out. This one was on, and then it just completely rebooted. And my my motherboard's light was on in the corner. Corner light motherboard was on. Let me message Donut real quick. The light. I'll figure it out. No worries. I'm happy to be back. Yeah, gonna look at that a little bit. I'll figure it out. Let me know if you experience any problems. Sound should be good right now. None of that should be messing with anything, hopefully. Whatever, it is what it is. Let's keep going. It's not going to stop us from doing this. I'll figure it out afterwards. Thank you for listening to me bitch and vent about it. What time is it? It is 11:56. It is time for Mr. Peter Yaworski to join me. Before he does join me, I'm going to quickly go on a break, grab my... Oh, YQL. I'm going to run YQL really quick. This song is describing this stream going to shit for a sec. So I'm gonna do this, and I'm gonna go get my notebook that's downstairs really quickly, so I can have my notes for when Peter joins. Let me go in here really quickly and. Okay, I'll be right back. Alright, you guys ready for your Yaworski to join? I don't think you guys are ready. closing that out. He has a minute to join, so I'm gonna give him a couple minutes. Gotta find a pen. Got to find my notes. The worst time. Absolutely. Let's get rid of these. I'm going 2 boxes. One sec. Let me see. Alright, did I not include a Google Hangouts link for him? I did. Look at this gorgeous face. How's it going, my friend?
So not bad. How are you? I'm really worried about my internet. It's been so bad lately.
Oh, go to the bottom right corner and make it a drop the quality at least. We are live, so I'm gonna close a few things out on my end. In the case of any, if you see me freeze at some point and not be responsive, my gear has been very hard to work with today. Like I hit my GPU just shit on me earlier. So it booted me off of my own computer. I have to reboot. So if it does happen, just hang in there. I'll come back to this chat. But hello and welcome to Peter Jaworski. I've been waiting for this moment. The tables have been reversed. You have interviewed me twice, and it's my chance to question you for a little bit. How's it going, my friend? No, I turned. I have it turned off. I'm gonna have to bring your volume up.
I see a talking beat, and I want to make sure that that's.
Let me see if it will let me actually chat. Tell me if you guys hear Peter okay. Say something really quickly.
Yep, just like test 1, 2, 3.
There we
Hopefully
go.
You hear me.
I brought you up now. I think they'll hear you now. Okay, GPU is doing fine. I'm gonna see if I can turn my webcam on for you to see me. I don't know if it's gonna work or not. No, it's not gonna work. My webcam is taken off by my stream. Cool. Anyways, so this is Peter Jaworski, one of my really good friends, someone who's done a lot for the community. I'll let you introduce yourself really quickly. Who are you?
Oh, man.
I think your internet is crapping on you now, actually. Your internet is crapping on you, man. Hold on. You want to turn off the
question?
Hold on, Pete. Your internet is doing really bad. Turn off the camera. Let's do it without the cam.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
There we go. There we go. That's much better.
Let's try this again. Okay. Yeah. So who am I? I don't know. Right now I'm an application security engineer at Shopify. Hacker on HackerOne. I think I'm like ranked 82 or something like that. I'm fighting to get back up there. Took some time off. Author of Web Hacking 101, and which is now a book from No Start Real World. And yeah, I don't know. Dad of 2. I guess that's the thing that I would say if I had to describe myself.
I was gonna say I'm waiting for that to come out.
Family man.
Family man, definitely. And also one of the OG content creators. You've been doing I was actually showing your YouTube channel earlier. Since I don't have visual on you, I'm gonna pull up your YouTube channel. And you've been making content for a while. You just interviewed Tom Nom Nom.
Yes. Yep. I did. I started that right away. Actually, you were the first person, and you were the reason why that actually continued. Because I was super apprehensive about reaching out to people, and I think you were the first one. And Mikhail and Jobert had, just said go for it. So I sent you the email, and you replied within 5 minutes and agreed to it. And yeah, that was the first like web hacking pro tips, and I think Tom Nom Nom was number 18.
Wow.
And then I've done some deep dives with Jason Haddix as well. So there's probably over 20 videos there, all on hacking, kind of digging into it and understanding what the approach is.
What made you start these? Like, what ignited that fire, that light for you to want to interview folks and start to do this kind of stuff?
That's a good question. The interviews are really, I was super hungry for knowledge, and I didn't know where to go. And so I thought there was an opportunity to sit down with people and just kind of talk about their journey, how they approach things, where they go to learn, just so that like other people could learn from it. I particularly wanted to, but I thought it was a little bit selfish to say like, hey, would you sit down with me for an hour and just talk? Whereas if it was, can we sit down, record these, and make them available to everyone? That kind of resonates with more people, and it makes it easier to approach different people to come on to a podcast and talk about things. So that was the motivation behind it. It was the same as the book. I wanted to learn how to hack and get into things, and I figured reading blog posts, reading anything I could find was a good approach, and talking to people.
How long have you been working on Web Hacking 101? How long has it been? It was 2016, right? When you first started doing it? 15.
Yeah, so I started hacking in like December 2015, and I probably started the book probably like January or like maybe even the December. It was really a first approach at me just trying to plain language things that I was learning. So I knew that if I could explain them to somebody else, that I comprehended that, right? And if I couldn't explain them, then I didn't really understand what I was doing. So I started that book with that goal in mind. And it was after reading a blog post from Igor Homokov about like OAuth, and it was like, I don't understand what's going on. And there was a link to like Reddit, and somebody had plain language, like the 5 steps in his article. And that was the light bulb moment for me. It was like,
what was the 5 steps of what?
Sorry?
5 steps to...
It was Igor Homokov's like OAuth blog post. He has like 2 of them. And there was a link in the comments to Reddit where somebody had plain languaged what his blog post was explaining. And that to me was like, oh, look, somebody is spending the time to plain language this. That must mean they have the problem that I'm having in terms of understanding like this complex idea. Maybe others are having that problem. And so that's why I went to LeanPub, because I had purchased a book from them. It was the only place I could find a book on multi-tenancy in Rails a year before. And Ryan Biggs, who was big in the Rails community, had I think it's his last name, had published the book on LeanPub, and so I thought that was really cool. And so I thought that why not? You just write it as a Git repository, push it, and they auto-generate the PDF, the EPUB, and everything, and they handle distribution, and they don't take a lot for it. So it was good. It was a good opportunity to jump in there and do that.
I'm trying to look for your book. I think I'm traveling with it somewhere. I was gonna oh, there it is. Hold on. I'm gonna show people what the book looks like really quick. Oops. Just made a mess. This is the book that you just released not too long ago. I am one of the lucky people who actually got to hunt you down and get you to sign it for me, even though I gave you shit for it.
Yeah, I like to refer to that as devalue it.
No, yes. It's not. This is more valuable now. So I have him getting signed for me. Really good book. There's a lot of cool stuff in here. There's a lot of good POCs. There's a lot of good how-tos, especially like as I'm glancing over, it's like XXC. There's a lot of stuff in here about it. You have an entire chapter on it. So check it out. There's let me pull up the table of content really quickly. I haven't gone through the whole thing, but it starts from the basics. Give it a read. It is very, very good. It's a very good resource for someone who wants to get started in bug bounties. I'm giving away 3 copies on Twitter. If you want to get it for free, just go on Twitter and send me a tweet. Yeah, I figured I wanted to give. I think I told you this. I wanted to do a giveaway around your book, but I couldn't find the right time to do it. And last time before I go to bed, I was like, wait, I've been wanting to do this giveaway for a while, and why not do it the day he's coming on the show to talk about his experience as a hacker and give up some of his book, because it's a pretty good book, man. Like, I think it's very needed for us to bring content into the community, whether if it's book, podcast, write-ups, how-to guides, and whatever, right? So I appreciate you putting that together, and I really appreciate you signing my copy so I can keep it for when you put your next book out and the next book out and you become pretty popular, right?
Yeah, I'd love to put another one out. It was a ton of work, if I was being honest. Like, I didn't appreciate how much work it would be, but it was enjoyable, and it definitely solidified things. It's funny though, like how I stopped working on it, and even like Web Hacking 101. Like Web Hacking 101 was iterative. I can always push new changes to it, so I stopped it for a bit. And you quickly, like, you just start. It's not that you forget things, but things aren't top of mind anymore. And it came out, like, it really resonated for me. And we was doing the NorthSec CTF with some folks at Shopify, and there's an image magic RCE challenge and you had to pass a flag, like a command line argument. And like
Right.
there's a line in the book that's like, you can achieve remote code execution by passing in command line arguments like this. It's not necessarily always sanitizing content or sanitizing like special characters. And I had completely forgotten that, and I didn't get the challenge. And then I got to the book like the next day, and I read that, and it was just like, oh man, I can't believe I forgot about that. I got
Yeah.
to keep up to stay fresh.
Absolutely. So we talked about. There's a series of questions that I ask. You said you've been hacking since 2016. So what? 3 years of being involved in bug bounties.
Yeah, pretty much. Started December. I registered on HackerOne December 2015, first of all, and I think was like February 2016 on HackerOne.
That's not
So
bad.
yeah, just over 3 years. Yeah, honestly, it was a good experience. I had a lot of NAs in there at the beginning, um, but I just kind of kept digging at it, and I should have prioritized the learning at the time and just kind of valued what I was doing as opposed to like feeling like I had to be finding stuff all the time.
Yeah, that's also good advice. Like, it took me a lot of NAs too. Like, I got a lot of informatives. I got some duplicates, but staying consistent and also like
Hmm.
developing a process between learning and hacking is a very, very important thing. Like, you have to understand how, like, balancing it out. Like, how do you hack and how do you learn stuff, right? It's a
Yeah.
big part of it. So one of the things that I usually ask is, what are 3 things you wish you knew before you started bug bounties?
Oh man, that's a good question. Before I started, 3 things I wish I would have known. Um, it's a softer thing. It's not technical, but I wish I had an appreciation for like the community and what your reputation was. Um, and I say that because I've been lucky enough to like do the podcast, do the book, have success on HackerOne, and you go to different events, different conferences, and kind of people know who you are. I just wish I had appreciated that at the beginning, like with all the like the NAs and the informative, like your stats on HackerOne are lifetime stats, and so I wish I had a better appreciation for all of that, like the well-roundedness of bug bounties at the time. Um,
Again, to
in
be
terms
to
of
be fair, like, it doesn't have to be technical. Like, it could be anything that you
yeah,
wish you knew before you started in bug bounties.
yeah. Um, the other side of it, like I was gonna go to the technical side of it, there's not anything that I wish I had known. It's more one thing is the historic nature of the data that you're looking at, right? Like, I still don't have a good approach for that, and I wish I had appreciation. I remember seeing a Franz Rosen talk where, early on, this was a couple of years ago. He's talking about, doing his like approaching a target, um, getting a whole bunch of information about it, and then he's got a way to organize it and keep a database on it. I don't do that,
Yeah.
and so if I find a vulnerability that's kind of systemic, I don't have data to go back to be like, who's running this, and hit like look at all of the targets across. Um, it's still a problem for me, but I wish I had known that at the beginning because I've lost all of that kind of historical context. Um, I would say the third part of it, yeah, I was gonna almost like reiterate the beginning, but the reputation. It's similar to the first one, but I wish I had known. Somebody had told me early on in my career, in the public policy realm. I had worked for somebody who was part of how am I going to articulate this? Um, it's an investigation, for lack of a better term, right? Like we had an ombudsman in Ontario, and so I worked for the Ontario government. The ombudsman was investigating something that we were working on at our particular division, so they had confiscated, or rather claimed, all of the emails and all of the documents that were associated with this particular file, as is their power to do. I wasn't involved with it, but my boss was,
Okay.
and she had told me, like, Pete, don't put anything in email that you are not comfortable seeing on the front page of the Star. And I applied that to kind of like my bug bounties, but kind of too late. And I try not to report anything that I wouldn't be proud of having publicly disclosed or other people reading. And that goes not only to like what I report, but also how I interact with companies.
That's good advice. That's really
Anytime
good
there's a
advice.
disagreement, I try to always go back to that and always remember that.
Yeah, that's great advice. I mean, it makes sense. Like, my way of doing the same thing is like, don't report something that you wouldn't want to fix if it was your app. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, if you don't see
Yeah, that's a
value in
good way
it,
of articulating it.
yeah, why report it, right? So on the topic of Recon, like, a lot of the stuff that I do on Sundays is really focused around Recon. What does Recon mean to you as a hacker who's been around for a few years? I'm sure your Recon process isn't the same as it was 3 years ago when you first started. But what does the idea of Recon mean to you? Like, what is that? What does that mean to you?
Yeah, when it's kind of morphed like over like my 3 years, like my short time hacking. But Recon to me, if I was put on the spot and I had to explain it to somebody, Recon to me is like everything that's around actually attacking an application, right? So it's all of the information gathering that's going to go um, into me actually attacking an application, testing it, and looking for vulnerabilities, right? So what is around the peripheral of actual testing, if that makes sense.
Okay. So what is your Recon
So
process
like
like?
examples are,
There you go. Oh, sorry, you cut out. I thought you were stopping.
yeah.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
Um, no, no, that's okay. I did. I had paused. So so me and a former colleague, a friend of mine, Juan Frulon. I probably mispronounced your name, Juan. I apologize. But he's now at GitLab. So him and I are starting to hack together. And what we're trying to build out is really just like a UI wrapper around the first step being like subdomain enumeration. So using the same thing everybody else is using, Subfinder, and then looking at an appropriate way to like brute force subdomains at the same time. Once that's done, then like end mapping those particular subdomains that are found, um, going after them, and then seeing kind of like what's available with the ports approach. And then once that's done, we screenshot everything. So just like a visual representation of kind of what's available. Once that's done, we're looking at implementing now like content brute forcing, so like files and directories.
Okay.
That's like kind of like the meta, right? And then once we get into like an application, we're looking at what do the JavaScript files have, what are the APIs, if a because they're becoming more and more prevalent. So like what API calls are there, where are those API calls defined, what do the JavaScript files look like. What I need to get into is like the historical context of the JavaScript files, so like what's changing kind of week over week, what's new, where are those calls coming from. And it's applicable to stuff like GraphQL as well, but I'm not there as well. But it's just stuff I know I should be doing, but I'm not. My
Yeah, I
Recon
mean,
game sucks, to be honest.
no, I mean it's a process you got to build around, right? Like, get it manually. First, you got to manually understand what this process looks like before
Mm,
you can even automate it, right? So it takes. I think it's very time consuming. It's not so much of it sucks. Like a lot of the things that you're saying, I'm in the same boat, dude. Like historical
yeah.
data. As much as I try to do it, I try to keep historical data. I don't have a really good way of scaling it, and I'm struggling with it right now. But I'm trying to figure it out. I think it's something that you just have to learn and like build your own process around it, right?
To be honest, like I've struggled even with the Recon approach because I don't enjoy it. Like for some people, they love it. It's their game. They've built out entire systems and they've built their hacking around that. And it's an art, and that's what they like to do. I just don't. I don't like that. I like being in the application. I like testing the application. Um, Even from like a Shopify perspective, like when we get a vulnerability, I love when the vulnerability is in the core application and then I can like dig into it. And so it's the same approach. Like I love going into a core application as opposed to kind of finding something off on the side and then working it that way.
Do you have a specific routine when you look at when you see a bug bounty program? Like, do you have a particular routine on how you do stuff, or is it just depending on the application, you have your own approach?
It's more dependent upon the application. I started doing like a checklist, which was like it's very much like the same approach in the book, right? It's like that kind of walkthrough. One of the chapters like actually talks about like the proper, like in quotes, like the recommended way to kind of go after an application. So I would checklist kind of around that, but I always end up just throwing it to the wind.
Okay.
I like getting in, registering for an account on whatever application I'm testing. If it's not account based, it's just kind of, that to me is a little less interesting because there's going to be less functionality kind of associated with it. So I'll tend to register for an account, get using it, kind of have an understanding for it, and then I look at the calls to see kind of like what behavior is there, and what functionality is this providing, right? Like
Okay.
if it's community related, that tends to take you down one path, Whereas if it's like accounts for like collaboration, that's kind of another. So all of that defines kind of what I do, but it's more often than not, I just kind of like end up worming my way through depending upon what the requests look like and what the functionality is. And anything that's interesting functionality, I kind of stop and start poking at.
So, like, on the topic of like calls, how do you figure out what calls are being made? Like, are you just using the application? Do you do something particularly to figure out like what different calls are being made in the background, or are you just monitoring it through Burp? What does that look like?
It's usually just burp. So I'll have burp there. I have three screens for the computer. So sometimes it'll be like, one browser on one, a private browser on the other, and then like burp on the third. And then I'll work through things that way and just see what burp is capturing. And so I try to, like, I have a project options set up for burp so that I can kind of exclude like the Google calls. I'll usually have HackerOne open, so like remove the HackerOne calls. But then Google has like a bunch of other domains like gstatic and like the Mozilla and like Firefox domains. All that kind of stuff is all excluded.
Nice.
And I try to keep it so that it's targeted on the application without just only being the application, if that makes sense, because sometimes they're interacted with third parties. An example that I can kind of give is there's this site that I was just hacking on, testing, and reported this vulnerability. They had OAuth implementation, and so when you went through the OAuth, there's you make your request, you get your token, or rather your code, and then you kind of call back to the application that you're working, and so this application went through the OAuth dance, and then the call back to the client with the code. They had a third-party software that was being used for like analytics, and they were recording like all of the referrers and passing it to that application. And so the codes were all being passed to that application. And then they had an endpoint, which is not the way that you do this, but they had an endpoint that you could hit with the code to get a token back, right? Like that's supposed to happen kind of on the back end in response to all of this and check a state parameter. That was implemented incorrectly. And so as a result, you get this code, then you hit their particular endpoint to get a token, and you have like this full access token to this other resource. That was a vulnerability. I couldn't necessarily exploit it against anybody, but that third-party service, if they log and they keep track of everything that they're getting, they now have access codes to every single user. And anytime a new one is created, they get it first. So I reported that, and they agreed and are going to fix it. But that was one that I captured because I didn't just only look at the application I was testing, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. So there's the thing. Like, I usually ask this question, and like, it's mostly to make people understand why they should be doing this. Why are JavaScript files so important to someone who's hacking on a particular application?
Yeah, I mean, we could probably talk for the entire hour on that.
Give me a TLDR.
Yeah, it's really dependent upon the application first and foremost, right? But more and more applications are becoming more responsive and kind of like, it's a terrible term, but this is going to date me. It's like that Web 2.0, right? Where it's all interactive. Everything's kind of happening up front. You don't want to reload a page for different functionality. And so all of that's done in JavaScript and JavaScript files. And so as a result, all of this functionality, like you have to define what those API, like what those paths are that the front end framework is going to call through JavaScript. And so first and foremost, you're going to see all of the paths that you may not actually get to unless you like worm down some weird functionality that ends up like making all of these calls. So you could spider the application and then hope that you find all of these paths. But if you just parse the JS files, you very quickly start to see what are the endpoints that the application, like the front end application, is going to hit on the back end. That's the first, right? The second is like, because of that same implementation design, sometimes developers just start putting different secrets and whatnot in JS files. And so if they're putting secrets or I guess secrets is the best term, like just values that shouldn't be there, you're only going to find them if you're looking at JavaScript files. And then the other thing is like, if they're defining functionality for the front end through the JavaScript file, like you can read that, you can understand that, you can debug that, you can play with that. Like Tom Hudson, Tom Nom Nom, in the interview, at the end, we're talking about debugging JavaScript files using Google Chrome. And I never thought of this, but you can set a breakpoint right at the beginning of a JavaScript file when you see an interesting sync, like a sync being some area that's going to take like input and is commonly associated with like DOM XSS.
Right.
Set the breakpoint right at the beginning or right at the end, like right when that gets called. And then in the console, just add in the payload or change the value that's being passed to that so that it is a vulnerable payload and see if it actually executes, right? And then if it does, work your way backwards from that.
That's interesting. That's interesting. Yeah, I haven't really thought about that way. That's pretty smart.
Yeah, I mean, like, so obviously if you do it right on the call's going to work because it's the sync, right? But if you look at like where it's sanitized or where it's actually cleaning things up, you pass it into there and then see what comes out of it, and then that gets passed to the sync, and you're good to go. It's a very quick and easy way to validate DOM XSS before you actually have to dig into the JS and kind of figure out how the entire application works, especially if it's obfuscated.
For your JavaScript things, do you have it automated, or are you manually going through every file?
No, I manually go through it. The same thing with like Burp. You can grep through things. Like they have regex checking, so I tend to do it that way. Like most recently, I was looking for GraphQL endpoints, and that's what I had done. And then I kind of recorded them all. Burp has a plugin that's like notes, and you can just create like a new note. And so I do that, and that's still the approach for me.
Very cool. So we talked about JavaScript and Recon. I'm trying to look at my notes. Oh, do you do any GitHub Recon? Like, do you use GitHub in any way throughout your Recon or hacking process?
So like to record stuff myself. I do, and I've got a bad habit on this. So what I was doing for a while was like I would create I have a repo for like all the different targets that I hit, and I would create it's either a project or an issue within a project for a different target I was going to hit, and then I would comment on it and keep track of all of my notes. That tends to be what I do for live hacking events as well. And then if anybody like wants to collaborate, like I can just add them to that repo. It's mostly that way. And then like from the tooling, like the UI kind of wrapping we're doing around like Subfinder and all that kind of stuff, we track that in GitHub as well, and we have issues for like functionality we want to add and that kind of thing.
But you don't actively look on GitHub itself for credentials or API calls or anything like that?
So I do. So I had GitRob set up, and I still occasionally use that. The other one is Anshimum. I can't think of what his handle is now, but he's got a Docker file that uses Trufflehog and another one. And so it's like a Docker instance. You just spin up, you give it the seed, and then like Docker run. Like the application runs a Docker, goes and does this thing, and gives you kind of a printout.
Are you talking about Get All Secrets? Get All Secrets? Is that the one you're talking about?
Yeah, that sounds like the one.
Okay.
So I do have that set up, and I use it occasionally. And then I don't have Trufflehog set up specifically, but I do have on my list of things to check out. On NetSec, somebody shared a new tool that did the same thing and claimed it was faster and better than Trufflehog with no substantiation. But I'd have to go back to my notes to see.
I think it's Git Grab. It just came out not too long ago.
That sounds right.
I tried it. I didn't like it, to be honest, just because it requires you to give it. You have to give it tokens for your API, and after a while, I think get rate limited. So I made another account just for that, just in case I don't mess up my own account.
I definitely do all of this from a separate account. Yeah. Like, don't use your GitHub account.
But it gave me a lot of false positives. Like if you give it like Yahoo.com, like it doesn't put it in quotes. Like Yahoo.com is an easier one, but if you give it like a company that's not like it's like a common word for the company name, it's not using quotes to put that company name within GitHub search. So it's getting everything that has even remotely something related to it. So there's a lot of false positives. Not that it's not a good tool, but I do all that manually, man. I don't know why, but I just do it manually. It's been easier.
Yeah, manually. It's another one of those things that I know I should be doing. I just don't do it very well. And it's like those things are also things that like you should do consistently. And so it's almost like run them automated in a background job that's like consistently running, because it might be there, like the secret might not be there today, tomorrow, the next day, and then like a week later, all of a sudden it's there.
Yeah.
So you need to, in my mind, you need to be running it all the time, and I don't have a lot of time to like code and automate. So yeah, it's another thing that's on the back burner for me.
Speaking of code, do you code at all?
Yeah. So at Shopify, a lot of the job, I know I told you, I was like, we should limit the Shopify talk, but it's so hard. I like working there. So, yeah, at Shopify, one of the things that we get to do on the job is, if a vulnerability comes in, we can jump in with the team, and they'll usually like fix it right away. Or if they're busy, we'll kind of jump in and code the fix as well. So I try to do that more and more, and I'm looking for more opportunities to code things at work. So I do a bit of that. But yeah, even coming into Shopify, like I previously, like getting into tech, I had a job that was development focused. I did that for a year and a half, and I still try to find projects to code, but I don't know. I'm like that dog who sees a squirrel and just starts chasing it. Like I constantly find new things that I want to go after.
But do you think? Before I ask this, do you think it's valuable to code? What languages do you use? I know you do a lot of Ruby, from what I remember. But
Yeah. So our tool is written in Rails, which uses Ruby. I'm not very good with Ruby, but so I did a couple like formal programming courses. I did this with Java, and so I tried to get into Android development. So I was doing Java, so I'm comfortable with that. PHP is like I'm probably the most comfortable, just because I started with Drupal, and so I spent a lot of time with that. So PHP, Java, most comfortable with. Do some Ruby. I've been trying to learn Golang, so I grabbed a course off of that, and that's because at Shopify some of our tooling is in Golang, and it's kind of like the new rage. It's pretty cool, pretty fun language. And then I can get by maybe reading a bit of JavaScript, but I don't know how to code in it.
Same. I just know enough how to look for stuff in JavaScript, but not enough to do much with it, to be honest. I'm on the same boat as you. But do you think it's a requirement for new bug bounty hunters to know how to code?
I don't think it's a requirement. I do think it's an asset. And the reason why it's an asset is because like you can approach something, and it's not, I should qualify that. It's not just knowing how to code, but it's like having worked on some type of project or application. And so like you understand what it's like to implement something that you didn't develop, and then kind of what the considerations are around that. So, if you're pulling in some other package developed by some other person, like a good example is like if you're building something Ruby on Rails, you use devise, right? Like very commonly for like user management. You didn't write devise. Devise has a whole bunch of configuration. So what is it that a person goes and considers when they're going to do that, right? And then if you see a Ruby on Rails application, you can kind of quickly identify, oh, they're using devise, and this is the way that you can screw that up. So let me test what they're doing with that. Like that was how I started when I got hacking. I would go after like application logic type approach, like those types of vulnerabilities, particularly like permissions between user accounts and whatnot, because that was the world that I came from. Like I understood that and implementing that in PHP, like using Drupal and whatnot.
Very cool. Yeah, I think I agree. Like, it's not so much about knowing how to code as to understand how this application works, and being able to like assume things that you wouldn't know unless you had some experience, right?
Mm-hmm. And it also gives you the approach, like the appreciation for, all right, if someone's using Ruby on Rails and they want to implement, like file uploads, like what's the common way to do that, right?
Yep.
And then start trying to like test the application to confirm whether or not that's the way that they did it. And okay, they did. Now I'll go over to that particular piece of code, like that gem that they pulled in, and I'll start looking at that. And you can go through the issues list there and see like, are there any security references that have been fixed in the past? And then, if you find them, then test this particular application to see if they've updated their gem for that, right?
Yeah.
For a long time, like paperclip was something that was used for file uploads. On Ruby on Rails, and there's like a very early disclosure from HackerOne about how if you took out like the body of the image, and I think like you took back you either took back the name or something along those lines. But if you just passed in a URL, like by design, Paperclip would go and reach out to whatever URL you gave and try to grab an image from there. So it was like server-side request forgery by design, and it wasn't and that was there for like 2 years or whatnot. And then they finally kind of addressed it later when it was like, this is very clearly a bad thing. But that's an example of it, right? Like that was an issue that was reported to them, and they were said, no, that's kind of by design on the application. Like, sure, fine, okay, great. HackerOne disclosed the report, and then for the next like 2 years, if you found a Ruby on Rails application that used that, you just remove it, pass in a URL, and there you go, SSRF.
Yeah, I think this is. I just found the CVE for it. It's CV 2017-0889.
Yeah.
And it's literally, I'm literally looking at, what they did in the POC is they pretty much put an attachment, just pass a URL to it.
Yes.
And then location became whatever the URL was, and it gave you for that's pretty interesting. There's actually a CVE. Oh, this was requested through HackerOne, which is cool.
Yeah, like HackerOne got this like a long time ago. Like one of the first like reports that HackerOne as a bug bounty program disclosed.
It's very interesting. Yeah, I linked it in the chat for people that want to read it. I pulled it up on the screen too. Just talking about like all these things that you're talking about, like how you do things. How do you organize all this? Is it just truly like do you take notes and just put them on GitHub like you were saying, or is there anything else you do to organize all the stuff that you're working on, remembering all these checklists, for example? So you have a checklist of things that you do. Is it organized in a Google Sheet, for example, that you go, okay, I did this? Is it a mental checklist? What does that look like?
So the checklist itself is, I want to say it's an issue template in GitHub. So I create a new issue for a new project, and then I choose this particular template, and then it like just repopulates the checklist for me. And then as I work through things, I try to take notes as like comments on that issue. So that's that way. The other thing is like I keep all of my burp projects, and I occasionally do go back to them. So anytime I'm doing like any time of work on like a new application or a new target, it's always its own burp project.
Nice.
I don't like do temporary, and I don't like mix. So if I decide to switch targets midway, I close burp down, open a new burp new project, and then keep it going that way. I think that's the two biggest ways. Then with the UI like wrapping application that we're doing, that has a structured relational database associated with it, right? So there's like a table for the project, which is like project information around it, and then there's like a table for like the subdomain enumeration. So what subdomains do we find for that particular root domain? The brute forcing is all still in files. So there's a table that kind of references the file name, and then we just parse that and spit it out as a page in table format. Yeah, those are the three ways that I maintain. Trying to think, like sometimes I create notes documents, but they just end up wherever. So that's why I have the burp plugin for notes. So if I open up a project, it's right there. For a while, I tried to keep a notebook, but that didn't work for me.
Yeah, I don't. Some of my notes is mostly my browsing history, other than some of the stuff that I've put in like random, note section on my computer. But for like Recon, browsing history has been the best. I go and look like browsing history of weeks ago at some point. I'm like, oh, that's where it was. But now I realize like my browsing history is temporary, so I just dumped a link in there without any context, so I don't have to rely on my notes and just focus on what I wrote 2 months ago, for example, and I can just go and like refresh myself, like, based on what I remember, this is what I remember. But I like to go in with a new, like a fresh outlook, if that makes sense. Zero context.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, and I think that's applicable to like not only like revisiting a target, but like any target you go after. Like I think it was Matthias that said that you should always approach a target as if no one else has been there, and I think that's applicable to yourself, like revisiting it as well. So there's been times where like in the live hacking events, especially ones that I've gone after, like you see the bugs that are disclosed, and it's like in stuff that is like, oh, I've tested that, I've registered for an account a long time ago, why am I going to register for a new account? I'm just going to use the one that I use. And then like you see people doing it fresh and finding bugs in the registration process, and it's like, you gotta approach it like brand new every day.
Yeah, I agree. So one of the things that like a lot of people ask me, I think it's one of the most common things that people ask about bug bounties and just security. Do you have any certificates, and what is your take on them?
No, I don't have any.
Same.
I laugh because it's like, I don't know.
I'm
Yeah,
in the same boat as you. I can already imagine what you're going to say, but I would like to hear it.
yeah. um, uh, yeah, I don't want to. Okay. Yeah, no, I don't have any certificates. Yeah, I'm trying to think of if, I don't want to put people down that have them. I mean, it's all about how you want to learn, right?
Hmm.
I don't want my comments to be misconstrued. So if like getting a certificate helps you learn and solidify things, by all means, go get a certificate.
Hmm.
Um, I somebody a good friend of mine, his dad owns his own company, and he's been very successful, and he's been doing this for a long time for himself. And I remember him and I talking, like when I was getting into going to like university, right? And one of the pieces of advice that he gave to me that stood out in my head, and I think it's still very applicable, is like, Pete, like that piece of paper that you get is valuable. It's going to get your foot in the door. But in 5 years, with 5 years experience, no one's going to care about that piece of paper, right? It's all going to be like, what have you done in the last 5 years? And I think that's very applicable to security and hacking, right? Like, I think any type of piece of paper might get you a foot in the door and give you an appreciation for things, but then what do you do with that? And so if you're capable of going and getting the same experience, in that 5 years, and you don't need the certificate, then go and do that, right?
Yeah.
That's my view on it. The one caveat to that is like something like a formal education does expose you to like there's a lot of time that's put into a formal education, right? In terms of what are good concepts to know, like to round you out. And I think sometimes that you don't have that when you don't go through like a formal process of trying to obtain education, whether that be like post-secondary, or online, like well thought out online course from a
Hmm.
reputable institution, or a certificate.
Yeah, I think relying on a course or a degree or a certificate to learn is kind of silly to me, because at the end of the day, the things that you're being taught on it throughout those courses is not something you couldn't learn on your own. Not to say, but for example, OSCP, yeah, it's great that they're teaching you things step by step, right? There's nothing wrong with getting your OSCP. I want to get my OSCP. I'm just lazy. I haven't done it. But there's
Hmm.
not something that you can't learn on your own for OSCP, like by doing hack the box. It's the same thing with bug bounties. Like the whole idea of learning is, yeah, these courses, these formal education, whatever it is, they help you understand the process, but it's up to you to dig into those topics that are interesting to you to learn them further, right?
Yeah, I agree. The one thing that I think like a certificate or a formal education does is it kind of like it eliminates the I don't know what the appropriate term is, but like the noise, for lack of a better term, right?
Right.
Like, so if you go and try to like learn the things on your own, it's like for every 10 valuable articles you read or like resources you find, like one of them or like two of them might be like the specific thing that you need that like helps you solidify a concept. Um, the other side of it is like the exercises, and so
Yeah.
um, I think there's value in like those structured exercises, and that's kind of like what hack the box, like what you're referring to, is like you can go and practice that. And so depending upon kind of where you're at and the timing, that's very valuable. I always try to sit down and try to do like hack the box, and even like pen tester lab, like I renewed my pro membership for that, but then I just don't have time. And when I go to sit down and do that, it's like, oh, I should just be hacking on like real bug
Yeah.
bounty programs, and making money. So I don't know, it's a struggle for me, and that's why I think there is some value in the certificates, because like you sit down, you register it, you have to do it, and so it's like very targeted, focused learning. But at the same time, I don't think anybody should be rushing out to get them to get started in security. I think there's way different avenues, and you can figure out if that's what it is that you want to do after you get your feet wet.
Yeah, I like the thing that you talked about, like the how to learn thing. Like you can go do Pentester Lab, hack the box, bug bounty notes, hacker 101, whatever you're into, right?
Hmm.
Then there's like the concept of, well, I could do the same thing and go hack on bug bounty programs and learn. Because
Yeah.
if you're doing a CTF, yeah, sure, like not a CTF. If you're doing Pentester Lab, your focus is on finding this bug, exploiting this particular bug to learn it, versus just going after like the black box testing of a web
Hmm.
app on Yahoo, for example, or DoD, right?
Yeah, and I think that ties into like our discussion before in terms of like what your priorities are, right?
Yeah.
Like I definitely hear from a lot of people, and it's like, I've been hacking for a long time, I can't find anything. And it's like, it's kind of like, what are the priorities at the point? Like here we're talking about like the perspective is like learning. So if you're going and you're hacking on the bug bounty programs, like if you find something, like that's great, but the approach and the takeaway should really be like, did you learn something? So if you want to go and start testing with GraphQL, like find a program that uses that, and then understand what the structure looks like, understand how mutations work,
Hmm.
understand how scoping works, right? And then kind of like, so each night that you're hacking, it's not like I want to make $500. It's I want to learn this piece about GraphQL, and then expand that. And then the thing is, like, take the notes in terms of like your learning and your learning journey, so that you can kind of flip back over the pages. And if you happen to find a bug along the way, like that's even better. So it's still the same idea of like learning should be the goal. It's just how you end up going about it, and don't confuse making money with the learning objectives when you're doing that.
That's some really good advice, Pete. That's a really good way to break it down. It breaks down the idea of like learning one bug at a type and then setting those
Yep.
goals of like, finding a valid vuln in GraphQL, for example. Whether it's a dupe or not, just understand the concept enough to
Yeah.
find a vuln and move into the next one. That's a really, really good way to put it.
That was
Um,
that was advice that Philippe Hardwood gave me early on, and it stuck with me. I still think it's valuable. It's like, it sucks finding a dupe. Like I get it, you don't get the money, but at the same time, the flip side of that is like you did something right. You found a vulnerability, so focus on that and focus on that as a win, as opposed to like, I didn't get paid.
yeah, absolutely. That's a great way to put it. Do you play CTFs, by the way?
I try to, but it's the same thing. It's the same mentality. If they're not on site where like my time is dedicated to them,
Huh.
um, I just end up like not doing them because it's like, I can just go hack on bug bounty programs. But I do enjoy doing them. Like more often than not, people from Shopify, like in the security or broader security team, will kind of like team up, and we'll do like a team that is like people who are like comfortable hacking, and then we'll have like another team that's like people who are noobs who are in infosec, but they're not necessarily in like application breaking. Maybe they're in privacy, or compliance, infrastructure security, um, and so there's always an avenue that way, and then you get to learn from everybody. We always do a debrief and share knowledge, which is cool too.
That's awesome. Yeah, I don't. I mean, I do CTFs once in a while. I'll do it on the streams, like Hacker 101 and stuff like that. But like, I feel like I always say this: it's just CTFs. There's an answer to it, and
Yeah,
if you're obsessive like I am, you obsess about it until it drives you nuts, or you give up. Right?
100%. I think it's also like there's the softer value in them. So this is going to be a tangent, but like for a while, I was just focusing on like brand new programs that were launching.
Mm-hmm.
And like, to be honest, it was like a lot of times it was like Synax. So like they would do like these quick engagements. And so a lot of times, like, applications that don't get a lot of testing. And so a lot of low hanging fruit that was not super difficult to find. And I found it just made me lazy. So like I would just go and pepper cross-site script payloads over everywhere. Um, and the value that I saw in the CTFs, like sitting down to go and do them after the fact, was like, there's some type of vulnerability here. So the persistence and the determination, revisiting those as like soft but necessary skills. I think CTFs give you that because you just want to keep working on an application until you figure it out and don't bounce around. Which is so easy to do in bug bounties. Like, I'm not finding anything here after an hour. I'm going to go bounce to another project, or rather another program. But then you're just throwing away that hour that you've learned about how an application works.
Yeah, I think the thing with CTFs for me is mostly that it makes you think outside the box, knowing that there's an answer to it. Um, yeah, I agree. I'm not a big CTF fan, but it is what it is.
Yeah.
Um, you said something about picking, new programs, which I want to know, and that's something like someone in the chat asked was, how do you pick your program? Like, what are some things you look at when you want to, pick your targets to hack on? And let me, before you answer, let me pull up your. I'm gonna pull up your profile on HackerOne, your public profile, and look at. You've had 49 things. That means 49 companies.
Yeah.
Um, Airbnb being on the top, Verizon Media being on there. I know exactly where you reported HackerOne, because that was like one of the things that like it was like, ooh, this is really smart. You've done Twitter, GitLab, Department of Defense. What made you go after these companies, and like, how do you pick them?
Yeah, I don't think I have a great answer about that. I just it goes to me opening an application and just kind of seeing what functionality there and how the calls are being made. I naturally kind of gravitate towards anything Rails related because I've built the application in Rails, and then like I work at Shopify and we're a Rails shop, so I understand how that works. So that's why, like, to be honest, I still spend a fair bit of my time on Airbnb. I have other programs that kind of creep up, but you know, I look for things that I'm going to learn from now. I try to be uh, um, a little bit more diligent. At the beginning, I would kind of anytime I got a private invite, I would go jump on that program and kind of learn it. Now I'm kind of looking for opportunities where I can learn, but there's a decent ROI on it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I don't mind like having a few nights where I don't find anything if I'm learning something new. But once that kind of extends and I'm not finding anything, I start going a bit stir crazy, and I definitely get in my own head.
Yep.
So that's why I always like default back to like applications that I know. So I keep going back to Airbnb's program um, because of what they offer, and kind of I can tell that they're adding new application or new code, and that's one of the things that working at Shopify gives me an appreciation for, is like how much you ship code out the door
Mm-hmm.
as a company. Um, so yeah, I don't have a great answer on it. I mean, it's kind of whatever you feel comfortable with. Like if there's an application, so there was one application which is a private program which I can't really speak to, but it was all like it's this enterprise level application, and so it's like all this like obfuscated JavaScript code that's uses a front end framework, and then it like pulls in like these crazy JS files. And so I thought I'd spend 1 week on there and try to find at least one vulnerability and learn it, and I
Okay.
didn't. But what I came away from was like better skills in terms of de-obfuscating JavaScript, following like a call logic through multiple files, pulling in things and what that functionality looks like, and then how they have these weird messed up API calls. And so like I then understood like what those weird API calls look like. Um, but a Salesforce program would be the exact same thing, right? Like it's common knowledge that they're running a program on HackerOne. Like I think they state that, but it's not public. And a Salesforce like call is like super complex. So it's whether or not you want to put the time into that, learn it, and then keep hacking on it.
Well, I don't know if it is public knowledge or
So
not.
it's public because they had like a public thanks page and they talked about it. And so it used to be like if you went to like HackerOne/Salesforce, it's let's see if they still do it.
Yeah. Well, it is. I see they're celebrating 3 years of bug bounty program, which is great. It came out last year. Shubs dropped their name last week, and I had to like blurt it out in his video. But now I feel like a dick doing that to his video. Well, oops.
Yeah, it's like
It's good
they
to
have
know.
at the bottom.
Yeah, it's good to know. No, I
They
mean, there's a blog post. It's on HackerOne itself. I'm pulling it up right now. You know, being a being a HackerOne employee and talking about stuff that you're not sure about is kind of iffy. But I'm glad to know it's public knowledge, so I don't have to feel bad about it this time.
Yeah,
So topic
it's
of
like
like, go ahead.
I was just gonna say they have Salesforce hacker thanks. I remember they grabbed this and they grabbed our names for all of this. Whoa, what is this? I'm not gonna reference this. It's just I want to click on this. It's a search result in hacker. Huh. Yeah. It's just a weird Google result for
It's
that.
all good. So you said you hacked on this program, for a week, didn't find any bugs, whatever, right? My question is, how long do you stick to a program before you give up? Like, how do you determine when it's the right time to just move on?
Excellent question.
It's a hard one, right?
Yeah. For a long time, um, I had a bad habit of just like moving on very quickly. I tend to move on when I'm not like when I stop finding things that are interesting, right? So I might not be finding vulnerabilities, but it's like new functionality. Um, so it's not like I spend 5 hours and then I move on if I haven't found anything. It's more like, okay, I start keeping a mental checklist of like, this is interesting, I want to test this, or this is interesting, I want to test this, or this. And I don't have it as much now, but previously I would like be walking the dogs and thinking about an application, and then be like, oh, I haven't tested this, or there's this functionality, or this to go after. And so that like was always, if that kind of stopped, then I would go on to a new program. And it's not to the same extent because, you know, I've got more going on, and so I don't really have that time to be thinking about hacking 24/7. But if I've gotten to a space where I'm not thinking through new things, then yeah, that's a problem, and I tend to move on to a new program.
How do you stay motivated though? Like, you know, it's hard to. I've been publicly talking about this for a while. I deal with imposter syndrome a lot, especially now that I do these fucking streams every week. It's even worse, right? It's harder to deal with that imposter syndrome and like staying motivated and not hitting a burnout. I know it's a loaded question. We can break it into three things. We'll actually break it into two: burnouts and imposter syndrome, and the other one being motivated. How do you stay motivated to keep on hacking on these bug bounty programs? And yeah, how do you deal with that? What makes you
Yeah,
motivated? What
that's
drives you?
a that's a it's a very good question. Because I don't have a good answer for it. And for, you know, maybe a good chunk of the end of last year and then like a good chunk of this year, like I just wasn't motivated. Um, and for me, what I realized reflecting was like I had too much focus on like the dollars, um, and just feeling like it's kind of like what you talked about, like just feeling like you had to keep up, and I was hacking for somebody else, and that was why I stopped doing like the pro tips interviews as well, because it was like I had to, like I was just keeping them up like more so for other people and less so for myself. Um, and so in terms of like staying motivated, I've just tried to reprioritize my goals. Um, but I run into that for sure. And you know, the Las Vegas event was kind of like the pinnacle of that for me, where, you know, I didn't do very well at the event at all, especially seeing kind of like what the results were. I think I only had one valid vulnerability there, to be blunt. Um, and so that, like you talk about imposter syndrome, I was like, man, this is really bad. And you know, I was really homesick. I missed my daughters. The one started walking at the time, and so like taking back to staying motivated, like I've been focusing more on like, why did I get into this? Why did I start doing this? Um, and so really when I did, it was to make an extra dollar on the side, and it was kind of like to support my family, and give us like options in terms of like how we wanted to raise our kids. And I'm lucky enough to be like past that now, right? Where, you know, I can take a break and I'm still fine. So I'm reevaluating like, why am I doing this? And one of the things is like I enjoy breaking applications. And so trying to like find areas to test where I can expand my knowledge or learn new things or kind of reignite that like learning passion, is how I have been trying to do it. But yeah, I don't think there's any magic answer or silver bullet to staying motivated. If you just don't feel like hacking, don't hack. Go clear your mind. You know, play video games for a while. Right now, actually, recently, if I was being honest, I bought an Oculus Rift because
Nice.
we had VR at work, and I thought it was really cool. So I thought, oh, I'll go out and buy the Rift. And now I'm like obsessed with trying to learn how to like program a game for it.
That's
Uh,
awesome.
yeah, I love escape rooms. I don't know if they're a thing like in other. I think they are, like they came out like Asia now than across North America. But anyways, I love escape rooms, and
Those are
so
fun.
it seemed like for VR, like you like escape rooms are like the natural thing for it. But I can't find like really good escape rooms, so I'm like, it doesn't
Interesting.
seem like a hard thing to program. So I've been trying to do that. So
Wow. Someone's asking if the broadcast ended. Chat, are we alive? X, you around? Let me just make sure we're good. Sometimes people, I don't know if it's a yes to me. We're good, okay. I don't know why people say it's
did we
not
drop?
live. No, we're good. None of us dropped. Someone just said we dropped. I think it's just the internet. Do you deal with? I know I kind of like. I think you
Hopefully
kind
we
of touched
dropped when
on.
we were talking about
No, nothing
disclosing
dropped. It's
private
just
programs.
one person just says it's dropped. I think it's
Yeah.
the internet. So like on the topic of like playing video games, do you deal with burnouts a lot when you do bug bounties?
Um, Yeah, I think I do. Um,
Do you see it coming
yeah,
usually, or
like
do you use it afterwards?
it's afterwards, and it manifests in like the worst way possible.
Yeah.
I tend to like start arguing and being like more shorter, like at home,
Yeah.
and like I'll like my wife is like the one that like picks up on it, and she'll be like, she'll just tell me like you haven't been yourself for the last like week or 2 weeks,
Oh,
and then like she and I start talking, and I reflect, and it's like, yeah, okay, this is what's going on, and more often than not, it ends up coming down to like I talk about being comfortable with not finding vulnerabilities for a period of time, and that's true. But if that like extends for a long time, I very quickly spiral into I'm never going to find another vulnerability,
time for a
and
new
into like
career,
this.
right?
It's the worst mentality because there's no way that is true. Like
Yeah.
just the sheer amount of code that one application, like if no other program came online on HackerOne, the amount of code that companies push out every day, they're always going to introduce vulnerabilities, and it's just
Yeah.
a matter of going back there. So there's always going to be bugs, let alone the fact that new companies open up, they launch new applications, they push new things onto the internet. But it's just that mentality of like, man, I can't find any bugs, and then seeing like some companies like Verizon just get like hammered with bugs,
Mm-hmm.
um, because of like the sheer amount of applications that they have online. It's like, and you can't find any. It's like, oh my god, this is terrible, I'm never going to be able to do this, which totally is not the case. It's just a matter of needing to reframe.
Yeah.
One of the things that this is a side, but I went through this at another live hacking event, and I just stopped. I went for a walk, and then I got out a notebook, and I just started thinking about like, okay, what do I want to break on this? What do I want to? How do I want to approach this? And it got me out of that funk. So it's trying to identify those types of techniques that help you.
Yeah, I definitely agree with not finding a bug, and then I don't like. For me, it's like I talk to my wife about it. I'm like, yeah, I haven't found a bug in a month. Like, I don't know if this whole bug bounty thing is gonna last for me anymore. Like, you just started thinking of the worst case scenario, right?
Yeah,
And then she
yeah.
tells me like, you were just dealing with this 4 months ago. I'm not dealing with this conversation. Like,
Well,
actually, I used to do this every couple of months. You're just burning out. Like, she notices before I do. She goes, just go play your game. Like, stop
yeah.
thinking about it. Your life's ending. Like, you're not gonna find a bug. You're doing other stuff. Like, so I definitely feel that, man. Yeah, my wife's been a good way to like a soundboard of telling me like, dude, you just did this shit 4 months ago. Like, I'm not doing it. Just go chill out. Go play video games. Go watch a movie. Let's go. I go on a vacation, for example. I try to take a weekend trip. Even
Yeah.
that alone, and leaving my computer away, it really really helps.
Yeah. No, exactly. Yeah, one of the things that my wife commonly says to me is like, when I get a bounty, and it'll be like $500 or something, I'll be like, oh, I think this should have been $1,000. She's like, you used to be happy when you got $50. Like there was one time where you just kept like looking at emails for $50. Like, just be thankful that you're able to do this.
Yeah,
It's like, okay, that's a fair point.
yeah. It's weird how bug bounties have depreciated money value because of you get a 10K bounty and then you get a $200 one. You go, oh man, like that's it. Like I could have gone to more, a bigger bounty if I would have looked into more stuff, right?
Yeah,
Definitely, I really have to remind myself of that too. Like when I first was doing bug bounties, I was just reporting bugs to report bugs, not to make money. Now I'm just like,
yeah.
I need to make some money, even though I'm making a little bit, but just randomly submitting bugs.
It's funny, like one of so I've been lucky enough to spend time with friends, and he
Hmm.
and I have like talked about different things, and he and I talked about this as well, like the mental game of it. And it was funny, one conversation we had, we were talking about this and like how you kind of get down in the dumps, and for me sometimes it's not even the payout, it's just the most exciting part is finding the bug. And he kind of reiterated that as well. I don't think he'd mind me sharing that, but it was like, just finding the bug, that is the most excitement, because it's like, yes, I still have this, I can still find bugs. And then the payout's great, but it doesn't match that level of excitement, that kind of like dopamine hit, like actually finding the bug and reiterating that you still got it, you can still do this. um so
Yeah, it's a mental game, man. Like just the moment you find that bug, you go, I still got it. Yes, like I'm not losing my shit. Like I'm still there. But sometimes it takes a while to get there. Um,
yeah.
yeah, I agree. That's good, a really good way to put it.
I'm a very side note. I got super concerned after you said like I disclosed a private program that I should not have disclosed. I won't rename the company, but I found a blog post where they're talking about how much they
No,
paid,
no, I looked it
and they
up
have
too. You're
screenshots from
good.
HackerOne, so it's great. Okay. I did, yeah, my mind started racing there. I was like, no, this is people know about this for sure because I've been mentioned before publicly. It's like,
My bad if I started to,
whew,
make you scared a little bit.
feels good. Okay,
All
yeah,
right, we're still good. Got it. All right. Let's see. We're almost done there. We did talk about burnouts. We talked about giving up on programs after a while. Oh yeah. How do you work on your life work balance? You have family, 2 kids. You said you work full
yeah.
time. You do bug bounties. You have an absolutely awesome book. You put out content on your YouTube channel. How do you do it, dude?
I'm terrible for this, to be honest.
Yeah.
I feel like I should actually do like a real like conference talk on this, um, because for
I'd
a long
watch it
time I
if you
had
did,
like
by the way.
zero work-life balance. Sorry, you said
I
you
said
were?
I would watch the shit out of that talk if you did because I think a lot of people would get some good answers out of it.
Yeah, like it's a very long twisty road for me. So like it always sounds great in hindsight where it's like, oh, I've managed to do this, this, and this, but I don't have any work-life balance whatsoever. So like Shopify aside, like I love my job at Shopify. Shopify is extremely flexible. That like I kind of compartmentalize. I can't speak right now. I hive that off into one area. But then the other side of it is like I'm very protective of my time with like my girls and my wife and my family. Um, but then for a long time, what I would end up doing is kind of put my daughter. So I have two daughters. One is 1 year old. One is 4. So when it was just the one, we would put her to bed, and then I would go and I would work. Right, and I treated that as a separate job, and I would maybe go from like 8 to midnight, and then I would get up at 5:30 and go and work out. And so I was getting like 5 hours of sleep. And I remember growing up, like my dad was very much the same way. Like he would like sleep 5 or 6 hours. Um, but then like I realized like that sleep, like lack of sleep, I would be irritable, I'd kind of be snapping, and it would not be healthy. And so I took a step back, um, and then try to kind of put a little bit more structure around that. So maybe, if you have kids, they kind of like their bedtimes kind of like they cycle as they kind of grow and they change a bit. So, my daughter started going to bed a little bit earlier, transitioning to one nap. And so as a result, like I could work from say like, 7 and then like at 10. And then my cutoff would be like if I'm not working on anything or finding anything at 10, then I stop. And then I kind of get to bed at a more reasonable time. So that was the one thing. Like if anybody asked me for advice, is like you need sleep. There's a great book, New York Times bestseller on sleeping right now that's on like our Shopify bookshelf. I read it and it talks about the studies that are like if you're a person that thinks you only need 5 hours of sleep, if you like do an objective study and it shows how effective you are at like cognitive skills and cognitive challenges, you will very clearly be much lower effectiveness than somebody who's getting 7 to 8 hours of sleep. So you always think you're doing better than you are. So sleep is super important. That's one. The other side of it is like taking on the other projects. I do a bad job of that. I take them on and then I get overwhelmed and then I stop them. Like the reason why real world web hacking or real world bug hunting took like 2.5 years was for that exact reason. I would work on it. I would get emails back and forth from No Starch. I would get overwhelmed. I would shelve them for like 3 weeks and then I would go back to it. Um, so that was terrible of me. My wife and I just had a conversation about the fact that like when I was writing the book, I was like, I'm going to take a break after this as soon as the book is done. And then, a couple weeks, I think I lasted like a couple months and then I got the Oculus Rift and now I'm trying to figure out how to write games. And I've been staying up till midnight trying to figure out how the Unreal Engine works. And been driving me crazy. And she said the same thing to me the other day. She's like, you found a new project when you said you were going to stop doing this. So all that to say, if anything, I value the time with my family, and then whatever I have outside of that, I just try to make the most of it and make sure I'm still sleeping a good amount of time.
Yeah, I think sleep it's the most important thing. Like when I first started doing bug bounties, I'd wake up around 7:30, 7 in the morning, and go to bed around 1 o'clock. And the whole time, I was actually doing bug bounties. I would literally drive to school, skip class, go to the library, do bug bounties, or go to class and just have my laptop up and doing bug bounties.
Yeah.
And I really got burnt out. And my wife had similar conversation with me. It was just like, dude, I don't see you anymore. Like since you started doing these bug bounty things. So I tried to figure out a way of balancing it. Finding that balance is really, really hard. But once you figure it out, and you realize that, like, you know, spending time with family, friends, whatever, you know, depending on where you are in your life and where you live, if you're in college away and you only have friends, but dedicating certain time to them is very, very helpful. At some point, I even started multitasking, quote unquote. My wife would watch TV, you know, some of her TV shows that I'm not really into, but I would sit there and watch it with her, and like I would run scans in the background and kind of like, you know, kick it with her like that.
Yeah, my wife and I actually started doing that like last couple of months. Like I kind of always we have a den that's kind of like off to the side of the house. We have a different format for our house, and so like I'm typically here working and she's somewhere else, and so same thing. I grabbed the laptop and I've been hacking on applications like on the couch, and it's, I mean, you're, to an extent, it's not the same thing as like spending quality time together, but at the same time, like we're not in separate rooms, and we like still talk and kind of, as you said, like as things are kind of like running, you have conversations. Very clearly still distracted when I'm there with her, but it has definitely helped, as opposed to like going downstairs 8 to midnight, coming upstairs, she's in bed, and then like we don't really see each other or talk for like the entire week until the weekend comes, and that's just not healthy.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think it's really it's outside of a relationship, right? Like it's not, it doesn't have to be a girlfriend wife. It's just the whole like having a
Yeah,
life outside of boundaries.
exactly.
I'm glad to hear I'm not the only person, the married person that deals with that kind of crap. It's not really crap, but you know, it's something you have to figure out, and it's really important, right?
100%. And it's I mean, like it's never like solved, right? Like
No.
especially when like a new program launches, or I get like super excited about something, like that's all I want to do, and I'm, now our thing is, especially with like the Unreal Engine, like I'm thinking about like, what if I program the game this way, or what if a puzzle worked this way, or what if I, and then like we'll be talking and she'll ask me to do something, and so I've got to go to the kitchen to like get a glass of water, right? And
Right.
I'll walk back with the glass and there's no water in it, and
Oh
she's
my
like,
God. I
did
hope
you
my
did
wife
you
is
really
listening
just
right
do that?
now. I really hope my wife is listening to this right now, because like she would literally do the same thing. She'd be like, "Hey, can you go do this?" And I'll literally walk to the kitchen and be like, "Wait, what was it? What did you ask me to do
Yeah.
real quick?" Because of how much is in your mind, right? Like you're walking, thinking
Yeah.
about something that's like it's taking up like 90% of your brain, and that 10% like in the back of your mind is like, okay, this task that I had to do, but fuck, what was it? Like, what was she
Yeah,
asking me to do?
exactly. Yeah, that is us to a T.
Oh
There's
my
a there's
God.
a there's a meme that I showed her like when I was learning to program, and it was like a man and a woman like going to bed, and the woman is like, you know, he's so distant, he wasn't talking to me today, like what's wrong with our relationship, like, and then like in the guy's like mind bubble, it's like, why doesn't my code work? Like I wrote this test and I did this, but the variable's still coming out, and I showed it to her, and like every time we talk about that now, where she's like, why are you so distant, I like we bring that back up, and it's like, this is what's going on in my mind, I'm sorry, but this is like, here's the visualization.
Yeah, it's funny. My wife's actually listening to this podcast right now, so I think I got some good brownie points there, and I'm glad that I have a case against her now to say, look, I'm not the only one. I sometimes think like I've become very forgetful, but it's not being forgetful. It's just my brain somewhere else. I left it in a different project, so it's kind of funny to hear. I'm not alone, which is great.
Exactly. Safety in numbers.
Okay, so I've got one more last question. This is how I end every podcast before I get into the speed round, which is pretty quick.
Okay.
Is I want to hear your advice for newbies. I know it's a very loaded question, but like, what is your advice for somebody who is just watching this podcast? They like the idea of bug bounties and they want to get started.
I ask everybody the exact same question, because I think it's a great
Yeah.
question. And so this is all coming from the top of my head, but it's, you know, I talked about it with Tom Nom Nom. I think my biggest piece of advice is like not a technical piece of advice.
Mm-hmm.
It's, you need to prioritize what your goal is, right? So
Okay.
I don't think when you're starting out, the goal should be to make $1. I think the goal should be to learn something new.
Yep.
And as a result, when you're hacking, you should have like a journal that you're doing, or
Interesting.
I think a journal is the best way, like pen and paper, and like write down, okay, I spent 3 hours tonight, this is what I learned, And then you have something like actually physical that you can go back and read through and be like, you know what, I didn't know this, I didn't know this, I didn't know this, I didn't know this.
Yep.
Now I do. And get to a state where you're happy with what you know. And like honestly, the bug bounty piece will be natural, like switch, where you have this huge library of knowledge that's readily available to you. And it's not that you have to know every single piece of information, but know where to go for information and know kind of like the indicators of what could be vulnerable, and then find that information that you've kind of like logged off, and then go into that, and you'll be able to find vulnerabilities that way. That is my biggest piece of advice. If you go in there and you think, I want to make $1,000 this month and I've never done bug bounties before, I think it's going to be a rude awakening, and it's very easily you're going to become demoralized and dejected and maybe give up on bug bounties. But if you transition that, reprioritize your goals, I think you'll be much more successful, whether it be financial or like getting into the industry and having more knowledge about things.
Yeah, that's a very good way to put it. I think money shouldn't be your main goal. That's I wish more people would have looked at it that way. But I know that it's hard to set a goal, like financial goal, when you're learning, because it messes with your head completely, like because you rely on that money, right?
Yep, exactly. And I think it'll incentivize the wrong behaviors if that's the way that you want to go about it. There's a lot of opportunity. Like if you even just take a step back, right? Like there's so many companies that do not have bug bounty programs that are kind of like weighing the options and looking at it. So they're going to come online. They're going to bring new applications. They're going to bring new code. It's going to get legitimized, and then other companies are going to see them doing it. They're going to come online, and it's just like the amount of like code that is available on the internet is like mind-boggling. So there's always going to be stuff to find. So whether or not you're kind of like the new number one hacker today, tomorrow, or like a month, a year from now, there's always going to be opportunity. It's never gone. So don't feel like you have to sprint out of the gate.
Yeah, I definitely agree. That's great advice. I think you've dropped a lot of knowledge today, dude.
Thank you. I hope somebody finds some value out of it. It's, not just me rambling and potentially disclosing private programs.
Let's do the.
There is a blog post talking about it. So.
No, you're good, man. You're good. You're good. Let's do the speed round. It's just more fun.
Yeah.
The first part of it is I'm going to ask you a series of first and favorite things that you do, and the next round is the second part is when I give you a word, and I want you to tell me the first thing that comes to your mind.
All right, I'm excited and nervous for this. Let's do it.
So first and foremost, first program you participated in.
HackerOne.
HackerOne's own program.
Yeah. Maybe it was Shopify. It was one of the two.
Favorite bug bounty.
Am I supposed to do these as fast as I can?
No, you don't have to be fast. What's your favorite bug bounty program right now?
What is my favorite bug bounty program right now?
Yeah.
Airbnb.
Of course. First bug you found?
It was like a dangling apostrophe injection on HackerOne. They had mixed up. They had tried to fix that and then messed up their markdown parser, so you could inject like a whole bunch of other stuff. I couldn't actually exploit it, but they were good enough to fix it and pay me $500.
That's awesome. What was your first bounty you ever got?
That was the first bounty. It was $500.
Wow, that's crazy. What is your best purchase you've done with bug bounties?
Oh man, the infamous response to this is my snowblower. It is still it is still one of my top. I'm hoping that the Oculus Rift S becomes the new best to this, but it will only become the best if I actually manage to develop a game and get it out there and sell one copy. That's my goal, is have somebody pay for something that I program in terms of a game. I've always wanted to develop a game, and so this, I think, is my opportunity.
I believe in you, Pete. I'll definitely, if you make an escape room, I'll definitely try it out.
Awesome, great.
That'd be really, really fun. You should make the escape room with some hacking inside of it, just so you know. Like,
I was thinking about that too. Like, how could I incorporate that? My thing is now, like, I've got these wild, massive dreams for it, and so I've been trying to scale back to be like, what can I actually get out there? So the other night, while my wife and I were sitting watching TV, I was mapping out like all the puzzles that I want to do.
Okay.
And as bad as this sounds, I only realized like I spent like 3 nights on this, and I only realized that there is no way just now to stop somebody's like as weird as this sounds, like your head with the Oculus Rift from going through an object in VR. Like I always thought you could stop that, but you can't. So if you get close enough to an object, you can always put your head in it. So anyways, that took me 3 nights of work to figure out, and now I have to put it on hold to hack something for a week. So I probably won't get back to it till the week after, but I'll get there. I'm
If
sure
you're
I
looking
will.
for puzzles, you should talk to Brett Zayat. He's really
Oh,
good at
nice.
puzzles.
Yeah,
Man.
yeah.
Yeah, you should definitely
That's a
hit
good
it up.
idea.
He loves escape rooms as far as I know.
Sweet.
Also, if you get a chance, you tweet at him and tell him to get on my show because I'm sick and tired of him not being on here.
I know. I was poking him for a long time with pro chips, and then I just finally gave up.
I know. I made everybody that was watching today tweet at him to get him on the show.
Good. I will too. I gotta find it.
All right, let's keep going. What is your favorite tool that you use for bug bounties or hacking?
Ooh. So if this were lightning round, the answer would be my brain. And beyond that, it's like burp.
Burp? Nice.
Yeah.
Favorite bug type?
Wow. Favorite bug type. I love application logic type stuff. So I know that's like a super broad category, but really abusing functionality that was, intentionally designed with the unexpected use in an application.
Okay. That is fair because, it also helps you understand the application, right? And it helps you with finding more bugs.
I always feel the best about those reports because I feel like they're so creative and so analytical. And it's like, this is like, I see that you've done this for this reason. I understand this is the functionality, but as a result, it gives you this unintended consequence, and I can use it to attack somebody else by doing this. And I love those types of reports. They're definitely my favorite.
Favorite hobby?
Favorite hobby. It sounds so cheesy, but it's like definitely spending time with my family, especially like my girls. Like every year that they kind of grow up is like, it's like, this is the best year. And that's been true of like my daughter, like 1, 2, 3, and now 4. Like the stuff that she comes up with is amazing. And then if it's not that, I've been slacking, but like I still love going to the gym just because I don't know, it's so meditative and it just kind of clears your head.
Yeah.
And so it's those 2 for sure.
Favorite hackers to collaborate with?
I do a piss poor job of collaboration, to be honest with you. But PH3T, Juan, at least I hope that's his handle.
Yep.
It doesn't matter. Juan, he and I collaborate quite a bit. I talk to Zed Shano, Andy Gill, Zephyr Fish, Kevin Rowe, and File Descriptor probably like every second day, if not every day. And we talk about all kinds of stuff. It's not necessarily just hacking collaboration, but like all things. We're pretty close friends, I would say. Yeah, I think it's those. I got to do a better job of collaboration. My problem with collaboration is like I haven't done it properly in the past, and it just feels like it's distracting. Like I'll be working on something, and then like somebody will throw something over the fence, and I get distracted. So I know I've got to do a better job of that.
Yeah, I think collaboration is a big part of the bug bounty community. But with that said, what are some hackers you wish you collaborated with?
Yeah, I think I don't think there's a limit to that. Like I would love to collaborate with everybody, especially like when you go to live hacking events. Like I've come to appreciate that like everybody has a unique way of approaching things. So I don't have a list. I would be open to working with anybody, to be honest with you.
But is there someone you wanted to collaborate with, and you're like, man, I really wish I would have hacked with this person at least once, to see how they do it, or like just to collaborate with them?
I mean, if you put anybody's name up there, like Arnie and I have talked quite a bit, but we haven't actually sat down to hack together. You and I have like actually sat down, like maybe once or twice we've gone to sit down, and then like we've never actually like fully done it. Yeah. Like Franz, Matthias, there are people that I want to like. I feel bad like asking other people to collaborate, because at the same time, like I feel like I would be learning so much more from them than they would be from me. So I mean, yeah, like those names, File Descriptor, I have gotten the opportunity to collaborate with him, and I always learn a ton. I would do that again in a heartbeat. Same with Ron Chan. He and I, have sat down to do once or twice. Doing that more so would be amazing.
Yeah, I would love to sit down with Ron too. I've done it. I've done a File Descriptor with in Vegas at a non-hacker one live hacking event a year ago. Yeah. And he was there, and I was just like, "Hey, I'm struggling with this XSS thing. I don't, it's there, but I just can't figure it out." Like 2 minutes later, he's like, "Done." And then like I used that same payload with him on like 4 different reports, and I think we made a good amount of money from it. He's a really monster
It's
hacker.
that is pretty much like the experience of working with file descriptor. It's
Yeah.
like
Just a quick
I've done
turnaround.
that so many times, and he's come back, and yeah, I don't even consider that collaboration. It's just it's just called a file descriptor fixing a problem for you.
Yeah, let's do a quick round. I'll throw a word at you. Just tell me what you think of it, what comes to mind.
Sure.
No pressure. Hacker 1.
Fun.
Airbnb.
Oh man, I hope they're not listening. But broken.
Shopify.
Amazing.
Bug bounties.
Fun again. I don't know. Opportunity.
That's a great way to put it. Burp.
Uh, I just hear cha-ching.
Oh, that's great. Yahoo.
Oh man, the first really came to my mind was hard. Yahoo has beaten me down.
Oh. Collaboration.
Opportunity.
Live hacking events.
Stressful.
This is my last and favorite one. It's solely for you. You ready for it? This is just particularly asking you this question. Ketchup chips.
Delicious.
For those of you guys watching this and not knowing what this ketchup chips is, Peter bought us up in a bug bounty forum or somewhere, and Smeagol's Olivier and I give him a lot of shit. And then the next time I saw him, he bought me ketchup chips in Buenos Aires, actually. And they're actually delicious. I'm all for it. We have them back home. But it was just funny that you showed up with a bag of chips for us from Canada.
Yeah, because everyone's trash talking and not realizing how good they are. I feel like we need to take a step back. Like I should be fair to Airbnb. They are clearly not broken. They are a great program to work with. I thoroughly enjoy working with them because they're so quick to respond and their payouts are transparent. I've just been lucky and successful there. But yeah, their application is amazing, and so I would highly encourage anybody to work with their team.
Yeah, man. I mean,
if you're looking for a fun program to work on.
Airbnb was one of the programs that taught me a lot in bug bounties. And but what I mean by that was like I truly sat down and understood what Airbnb did. Like really understand how everything works. And it was a very good learning curve for me. I'm not gonna lie. Like I learned a lot. I learned really good API testing and fuzzing, for example. How to do real recon on a single app that's huge as Airbnb. How to extend that attack surface from just being a user to going to becoming a host, becoming a company. Building up on that account and then doing cross account stuff. And I think. I recently stopped doing the bug bounty program because I wasn't finding much anymore, and I just think taking a break was really, really well. But it was also like the bugs that I was finding were just trash at that point. I felt like because the bounties weren't matching up with what I was getting, so I pretty much felt like the bugs that I'm finding isn't valuable anymore because they're not criticals anymore. I've been on this program for 3 years, but at the end of the day, they're a great program. Big shout outs to Nate if he's still at Airbnb or if he ever hears this. Big thank you to him for doing everything he did for me, at least. Same thing with Claudia, Deanna, and Max to some degree.
Yeah, no, exactly. My experience was the same way. They're probably the program that I made the most on HackerOne, and I've also learned the most from them, like particularly how like a front end framework works and interacts with an API. That was huge for me. And then, like you said, just kind of digging into the different crevices and corners of an application and figuring out how they work. And then having an appreciation for an application building new functionality. That's kind of like, it's not new functionality within the core of Airbnb. Like, so it's still under the umbrella of Airbnb, but it's like, here's a new piece of separate functionality that is now tacked on to the rest of the platform, and what that difficulty create, like how those systems interact. That was a new appreciation for me, and it opened my doors to working with other programs when they do a similar thing and what can go wrong with that. So I still love working with them because that is continuing to go on. They're clearly a company that's pushing a lot of code. and they have a lot of opportunities to test other applications as well, which is kind of cool. Something popped into my head that I was going to mention, but now I totally forget what it was. But regardless.
Yeah, I think Airbnb it's a good example of like an application you have to map out all the small like micro apps that's within them, and it's a good place to again going after those JavaScript files and automating how you pull JavaScript files from it and that sort of stuff. So I definitely agree. Kudos to them for a really good program. I've enjoyed it. I might go back and look at them again. I submitted a couple of bugs with some other hacker. I don't know if he wants to be named on my stream, so I'm not going to mention him. But him and I found some decent stuff, and it kind of made me miss it. But I just haven't had a chance to sit down and dig in and diff some of the stuff that I've put out. It is what it is. I think we're a little bit over time. I usually end these a little bit earlier, but we're having some really good conversations. I know you can't see my camera, but on the stream I'm showing all the notes that I took. I do it every time. 2 pages of notes, just to kind of like follow your thought process and make sure I ask you all the right questions and all the questions that come through the chat. So really thank you for joining and doing this, man. I really, really appreciate it. This was an absolute blast, and thank you for taking your Sunday. I know you were busy today earlier, but I appreciate you taking some time and joining me and dropping some knowledge for me.
Thank you for the opportunity. It's been cool to sit down and kind of throw out my thoughts. I know a few people have asked me to do something like this with like web hacking pro tips and like interview myself, but it's cool to get to repay the favor because, like I said, if you hadn't agreed, I don't know if I would have done all the other interviews. So thank you, and thanks for getting these out there and sharing knowledge. I have them on the backlog of things I need to watch, consume, and make notes on. So.
Yeah, absolutely, man. If, you were, I think, one of the people that started this movement, and I think it's great for the community. The more people do it, the better. I think it's about time hacking becomes more mainstream and also show that we're not just a bunch of people sitting on a computer in a basement as some people portray us, right? My whole goal is to like humanize everybody. Like I make the same mistakes as everybody else does, and it's apparent on my streams. And also showing like, look, I go through the imposter syndrome. I'm very open about it. You deal with burnouts the same way. And so to show everybody, it's everyone at the end of the day, no matter how intelligent they look to you, they're humans and they make the same mistakes as you do.
Yeah, exactly.
Cool. Any last questions, chat? I'm going to give the chat 1 minute to ask any last questions. My biggest piece of advice, that's a text. I don't think there's any questions coming in. In case you missed it, again, this was Peter Yaworski. Is it Yaworski or Yaworsk? Is it your handle?
Oh, you got it, Peter Yaworski. Yep.
Peter Yaworski, Twitter Yaworsk. Author of Web Hacking 101 and Real Life Bug Hunting. If you're not familiar with any of his content, go to Twitter. I have it on the screen right now. Go give him a follow. Make sure you check out his YouTube channel, get his book, and also I'm giving away a hard copy of his brand new book that's been out for the past couple of months. Again, thank you so much for joining me, Pete. I really, really appreciate it, and we'll talk soon.
Thank you very much. Yep. Take care.
See you, dude. Well, that was a lot of fun. Pete's been a very, very good friend, and he's been a big part of the community. Being someone who is, being somebody who's been producing content and always interviewing us, it's good to have Pete on here and actually interviewing him for once. So it was really, really cool to see him. Thank you for the subscription, Captain. And I'm going to turn on my notifications again. I wanted to do more hacking, and honestly, I feel a little bit exhausted doing this. But what I'm going to do is I'm probably going to do another day of hacking one day this week. Hopefully Wednesday or Thursday, at some point, or Friday. I'll jump on and do a little bit more streaming on Yahoo so we can go through some of the data that we came up with today. But I am a little bit exhausted. This went a little bit longer than I thought, but I didn't want to cut it short. I'll never cut any interviews short because it is, at the end of the day, one of the best parts of my Sunday streams is to interview folks. And I feel like Peter and I were having some really, really good conversations, so I don't want to cut that out. As always, I appreciate everyone joining. If you're new to my stream, make sure you go to my Twitch.tv profile, scroll down. There's some links on the bottom. If you want to keep on the conversation, ask questions, help. I don't know if I'll be as useful as always, but there is a number of folks who are helping me manage my Discord who also help answer questions like Zayat and Donut. Feel free to go join the Discord chat. You can always use my DigitalOcean link if you want to follow along and build your own DigitalOcean box. You have $50 of free credit by just clicking on my link. And about the 3 books, I have to read every single one of those replies. If you are the winner, I will tweet you back and say, hey, you have won. But I'm going to stop looking at everything that's being sent to me after 2 p.m. So that's in 27 minutes. If you haven't started yet and you want to get into that book, 27 minutes from now, you have to reply. It's on my Twitter. I will look at them as soon as I take a break. I haven't had any food or anything this morning as I woke up, got ready for the stream. So if you want to win a copy right here, just go ahead and reply with a tweet, and I will announce the winners after I get some chance of reading into them. As always, pleasure to hang out with everybody. Again, thank you so much for taking your Sundays to hang out with me. Thank you for sticking around even though my my GPU kind of crapped out on me earlier. I'll be back on Tuesday for sure. I'm going to be doing some more Hacker 101 stuff, bug bounty note stuff to look for some vulns. So if you want to, come and watch me hack and struggle like I did last week, you're more than welcome to join me on Tuesday. Again, thanks everyone for joining. I will talk to you all on Tuesday. Peace.